Ladies and gentlemen, money does not move according to the systems of the world. It does not rise and fall because a government shifts policy, or because markets tremble, or because the title beside your name changes. These are appearances, temporary reflections of deeper energies at work. The truth is that money, like every other visible thing, follows a higher order. It is governed by divine law, not human logic. Every current of financial flow in your life is a mirror of your spiritual rhythm, a response to the state of your inner alignment. You are not at the mercy of the economy. You are not waiting for luck, for circumstance, or for someone's permission to prosper. You are, at every moment, commanding the very forces that determine how wealth moves through your experience, even if you do not realize it. The world teaches that money is controlled by external conditions, that you must study markets, chase opportunities, impress employers, or secure investors. But behind all of these movements lies vibration. Every transaction is first an exchange of energy, every opportunity first a reflection of consciousness. When you believe yourself subject to the world, you surrender your spiritual authority. You reduce divine power to human probability. But the truth remains untouched. It is your vibration, your spoken word, your obedience to law that sets the measure of your provision. Divine law never consults circumstance. It consults order. It consults resonance. It listens to the sound of your belief and mirrors it without fail. This is why two people can work with the same effort, in the same industry, under the same economy, and yet one flourishes while the other struggles. It is not chance. It is alignment. One moves in rhythm with divine law, and the other resists it unknowingly. The world will explain this difference with skill, education, or opportunity, but the spiritual world reads only vibration. It hears one voice speaking wealth with faith, and another speaking lack with doubt. It hears one heart declaring gratitude before manifestation, and another complaining about delay. The law responds accordingly. It is exact, impartial, and consistent. It multiplies whatever rhythm it is given. Money itself is neutral. It has no morality. It does not bless or curse. It only obeys command. The one who understands this stops chasing and starts commanding. They do not beg life to be generous. They speak in the language that life must obey. Divine law does not play favorites, but it does recognize obedience. It does not respond to emotion, but it does respond to vibration. If you vibrate in scarcity, you confirm to the law that scarcity is your chosen experience. If you vibrate in abundance, the law begins rivering all things to deliver abundance to you. The outer rearranges itself to match the inner. That is how reality is born. Human systems are unstable because they rely on fear, competition, and illusion of control. Divine law is stable because it is bent upon truth. Fear contracts energy, faith expands it. The one who lives by world law clings, hoards, worries, and competes, always believing that supply is limited. The one who lives by divine law releases, circulates, trusts, and multiplies, because they understand that supply is infinite. The difference between the two is not intelligence, it is identity. When you see yourself as a child of the world, you become bound by its limits. When you remember yourself as a vessel of divine order, you become bound only by rhythm. Every law of the universe carries the same message as within, so without. Wealth is not created outside of you. It is reflected outside of you. The spiritual world responds to certainty. When you speak as if the world owes you, you vibrate in entitlement and repel flow. When you speak as if the divine is your source, you vibrate in gratitude and magnetize supply. The universe does not care how much you work. It cares how much you align. Alignment means that your thoughts, words, emotions, and actions move in harmony with divine order. When these are out of sync, Money becomes confused, not because money has emotion, but because confusion blocks flow. The law of gravity does not care who jumps. It simply fulfills itself. In the same way, the laws governing wealth do not care who believes or doubts. They only respond to vibration. If you speak of lack, you vibrate lack. If you fear loss, you create more reasons to fear. If you believe deeply in constant supply, your vibration calls forth situations that confirm that belief. Divine law does not punish, it only mirrors. It is not a moral system, it is a vibrational system. Every result in your life, every bill, every bonus, every delay, every miracle is the report card of your alignment. This is why self-awareness is sacred. It is not enough to repeat affirmations. You must become the vibration of what you seek. The divine does not release substance into confusion. It waits for clarity, for order, for coherence. You are the transmitter, the frequency tower, the tuning fork through which law operates. When your signal is scattered, the supply appears unstable. When your signal is steady, the supply becomes constant. You can look at your finances and know exactly what frequency you have been emitting. The outer world is the echo of your inner tone. To live by divine law means to live consciously. It means that you no longer react to appearances, you command them. You no longer wait for the world to approve your worthiness, you affirm it. You no longer treat money as master or enemy. You see it as obedient servant of divine order. You realize that every dollar is a carrier of energy, a mirror of belief, a tool of expression. When you spend in fear, you program that energy to carry fear. When you spend in joy, you program it to return multiplied joy. Every act of exchange becomes spiritual practice. Every financial decision becomes a declaration of what you believe about supply. If you see money as scarce, you will unconsciously sabotage opportunities that contradict your belief. If you see it as infinite, you will naturally attract proof of that infinity. This is not superstition, it is spiritual mechanics. The subconscious mind records every thought about money and plays it back as experience. It does not judge. It simply obeys. That is why divine alignment is not optional, it is law. To be aligned is to think, speak, and feel in a way that agrees with the nature of abundance itself. Abundance is generous, fluid, and trusting. Scarcity is fearful, rigid, and doubtful. You cannot vibrate in one and expect the results of the other. The greatest illusion humanity has believed is that wealth is created through effort alone. Effort is only the outer expression of inner faith. When faith is weak, effort becomes frantic. When faith is strong, effort becomes graceful. True wealth does not come from doing more, but from being more aligned. You can work tirelessly and remain broke if your vibration contradicts your work. You can also work joyfully, with rhythm and purpose, and watch the universe multiply your results beyond logic. Divine law does not reward exhaustion. It rewards resonance. Alignment begins in the unseen. Before the first coin appears, before the opportunity knocks, before the account grows, there must be internal agreement with abundance. This agreement is not mental alone, it is emotional and spiritual. It means releasing resentment, fear, comparison, and guilt. It means replacing every thought of, I can't afford, with, I am divinely supplied. It means refusing to worship limitation. You do not need to understand how supply will come. You only need to align with the knowing that it must come, because divine law cannot fail. This understanding transforms anxiety into assurance. You stop asking, when will I have enough? And begin declaring, I live in an infinite system of supply. You stop chasing opportunities and start choosing them. You stop competing and start creating. This is what it means to live by divine law, instead of worldly illusion. You become unmoved by economic storms, because you know the true economy operates within you. You become unshaken by temporary shortages because you know that substance is always responding to your vibration. You no longer seek financial security in numbers. You find it in alignment. When divine law governs your money, peace replaces panic. You give without fear. You save without hoarding. You spend with purpose. Every action becomes rhythm. You stop measuring wealth only by accumulation and begin to measure it by freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from dependence. Freedom from contradiction. The richest soul is the one most aligned with divine order. The poorest is the one most entangled in worldly illusion. Yet even the poor in appearance are only one decision of vibration away from abundance. Because law is impartial, anyone can step into rhythm at any time. The path to this mastery is not mystical, it is mindful. It requires awareness of every word, every emotion, every belief related to money. Do you speak as a creator or as a victim? Do you expect flow or fear delay? Do you bless others' success or resent it? These small vibrations shape your entire reality. When you align your thoughts with generosity, the law multiplies it. When you align your speech with confidence, the law confirms it. Every alignment becomes a new command. Every command becomes new evidence. Divine law is not something to believe in someday, it is operating now. Every bill you pay, every gift you give, every amount you receive is part of that law, unfolding through your consciousness. To live in divine alignment is to trust that nothing can be taken from you that does not make room for greater flow. It is to know that money is not your master but your mirror. If the reflection is distorted, do not fight the mirror. Adjust the image within. When your inner image matches divine truth, that you are the channel of unlimited supply, the reflection becomes perfect. The true source of wealth is not labor, nor intellect, nor inheritance. It is consciousness aligned with divine order. You can use skill and strategy, but they will only amplify whatever vibration you hold. Strategy cannot replace law, it can only serve it. This is why spiritual alignment is the foundation of all material mastery. When you align first, effort becomes blessed. When you align first, opportunities find you. When you align first, money stops running from you and begins running to you. The world calls it luck. The awakened soul calls it law. The moment you understand that your financial reality is not controlled by external systems, but by divine alignment, you become free. You stop blaming markets, governments, or circumstances. You reclaim your authority as co-creator with divine intelligence. You begin to speak with purpose, give with joy, expect with certainty. You become the rhythm through which divine supply flows effortlessly. You are no longer reacting to the world begins reacting to you. Money ceases to be a mystery and becomes a mirror of your mastered vibration. This is the power of living under divine law. Your provision becomes as stable, as constant, and as infinite as the divine order itself. Misalignment is the root of all financial struggle, and alignment is the secret rhythm of all prosperity. When you are out of alignment, it feels as if everything in your financial world resists you, as though doors close, opportunities vanish, and effort yields little. Yet, this is not because the universe is against you, or because you are forgotten by God. It is because divine law cannot flow through contradiction. Energy cannot pour into disorder. Money, like all spiritual substance, responds not to effort but to energetic agreement. When your thoughts, emotions, and words are divided, your reality becomes divided too. But when all parts of you move in the same rhythm, life cannot help but release increase. The word alignment is sacred. It is more than positivity. It is the synchronization of your entire being, your beliefs, speech, emotions, and expectations, with the higher laws that govern abundance. To be aligned is to move in rhythm with divine intelligence, to think as it thinks, to expect as it expects, to trust as it trusts. When your inner vibration matches divine order, you step into flow. Flow is that effortless current in which provision comes naturally, opportunities meet you in perfect timing, and money begins to respond without resistance. This is not magic, it is law. When you are misaligned, you are essentially working against yourself. You may say the right affirmations, but if beneath your words lies fear, doubt, or guilt, those hidden vibrations cancel your declaration. Divine law does not respond to surface speech. It responds to energetic truth. You may give generously, but if you give from fear of lack, that fear contaminates the gift. You may pray for abundance, but if you still identify with struggle, the vibration of struggle overrides the vibration of faith. The universe cannot deliver two opposite commands. It mirrors the dominant signal you emit, and that signal is determined by your alignment. Misalignment feels like effort without result. It feels like constantly pushing, hustling, chasing, yet never truly resting in assurance. You find yourself trapped in cycles, saving then losing, gaining then lacking, hoping then fearing. Each cycle repeats because the internal pattern remains unhealed. You cannot fix financial conditions without first fixing the energetic condition that creates them. The world teaches you to change circumstances, but divine law teaches you to change frequency. The outer rearranges itself when the inner stabilizes. Alignment begins when you stop fighting reality and start mastering vibration. It is the surrender of struggle and the assumption of divine order. It is saying, I no longer chase, I align. When you align, you release the tension that blocks flow. You allow spirit to circulate through you freely, just as blood circulates through a healthy body. When energy moves unobstructed, manifestation becomes natural. You do not have to force what already belongs to you. You simply match its vibration. Think of misalignment as static on a radio. The music is always broadcasting, but if your frequency is even slightly off, you hear noise instead of clarity. The divine signal of abundance is always present, but when your inner dial is turned toward fear, worry, or unworthiness, you miss the broadcast. You hear only noise, bills, scarcity, limitation, because your receiver is out of tune. Realignment is simply retuning your vibration until you hear the clear melody of divine provision again. The process of alignment begins with awareness. You must become conscious of your inner rhythm. What thoughts dominate your day? What words do you speak when no one is listening? What emotions fill your body when you think about money? These are not small details. They are the frequencies that shape your entire reality. Alignment means becoming intentional about every one of them. You cannot afford casual speech, careless thought, or emotional chaos if you wish to live in divine flow. Every thought is a command, every emotion is an instruction, every word is a seed. When you are aligned, your emotions and actions move in agreement. There is no gap between what you say and what you feel. There is no contradiction between what you desire and what you expect. You do not hope one thing while fearing another. You do not affirm prosperity while doubting your worthiness. Alignment eliminates all duality. It brings your being into harmony with divine order, and harmony always produces ease. Many people mistake business for progress. They believe that if they simply work harder, save more, or strategize better, they will overcome lack. But misalignment cannot be solved by motion. It can only be solved by rhythm. You cannot outrun confusion. You cannot outperform spiritual disorder until your vibration aligns with divine law. Your outer actions will continue to produce limited results. When alignment is restored, however, even small actions yield multiplied outcomes because they are supported by universal law. Alignment is not a one-time decision, it is a daily practice. Every morning you must choose rhythm over reaction. You must choose faith over fear, gratitude over complaint, clarity over confusion. The world will constantly tempt you to enter misalignment through worry, doubt, and comparison. But alignment is maintained through awareness. By catching yourself the moment you drift from truth and gently returning to center. The more often you return, the stronger your spiritual magnet becomes. To be in alignment does not mean to ignore facts. It means to recognize that facts are temporary reflections of past vibrations, and law governs what comes next. You do not deny reality. You rewrite it by adjusting your frequency. When something looks scarce, you remind yourself that divine supply is infinite. When something seems delayed, you affirm that divine timing is precise. When fear whispers that you may fail, you speak back that law cannot fail. This is how alignment is practiced. Through conscious substitution of truth for illusion. The moment you return to alignment, everything begins to shift. Conversations appear that lead to opportunity. Resources emerge that were previously invisible. Solutions surface effortlessly. It feels as if doors open by themselves, but they were never locked. Your vibration simply found the key. The same world that once resisted you now assists you, because your energy has become coherent. You are no longer sending mixed signals. You have become a clear, commanding frequency. Misalignment, often emotional states we consider normal. Anxiety, impatience, guilt, unworthiness. These are not harmless feelings. They are energetic blocks. Guilt says, I do not deserve. Fear says, I do not trust. Impatience says, I do not believe in timing. Each of these statements tells divine law to withhold until you realign. Law cannot contradict your vibration, it must honor it. This is why spiritual mastery requires emotional mastery. The calm, grateful heart is not weak, it is magnetic. True alignment is peace. It is the quiet confidence that you are connected to infinite supply. It is knowing that the same intelligence that orchestrates galaxies also orchestrates your provision. In alignment, you stop striving and start allowing. You stop praying out of panic and start speaking from authority. You stop wondering if it will happen and start living as though it already has. The vibration of certainty draws results faster than any plan can. You will recognize alignment by the absence of strain. Things begin to unfold naturally. Your intuition becomes clear. Your timing improves. People and possibilities seem to flow toward you instead of away from you. It is not that challenges disappear. It is that you respond differently. You no longer interpret obstacles as punishment, but as redirection toward higher order. Even detours feel divine because you trust the rhythm of law. Alignment also means integrity. You cannot vibrate wealth while practicing dishonor, deceit, or resentment. The universe is mathematical in precision. Disharmony in character becomes disharmony in vibration. When your motives, actions, and words align with truth, abundance becomes stable because you have removed the contradictions that repel flow. You no longer leak energy through guilt or confusion. You become energetically whole, and wholeness is the foundation of wealth. Misalignment thrives on inconsistency. You affirm abundance one day and doubt it the next. You bless your supply in the morning and curse your bills at night. You give in joy once and then fear for the next month. Each fluctuation resets your vibration. Law cannot stabilize until you do. Alignment means consistency, repetition of truth until it becomes your natural frequency. You must choose your rhythm and keep it, even when appearances tempt you to shift. The universe tests your steadiness, once proven. It rewards it with visible manifestation. To realign, begin by observing where in your life you feel resistance. Resistance is the signal of misalignment. Whenever something feels heavy, frustrating, or stuck, ask yourself, what thought or belief am I holding that contradicts divine law? Then replace it. Replace fear with faith, resentment with gratitude, doubt with expectation. Speak the truth until the vibration of truth dominates your field. Alignment is not achieved by force. It is restored by focus. Divine law flows naturally through those who are in rhythm with it. When you are aligned, you do not need to chase opportunities. Opportunities recognize your frequency and find you. You do not need to beg the universe for blessings. Blessings are programmed to obey your command. You are not pulling wealth toward you. You are simply removing the blocks that prevented it from reaching you. The current of prosperity has always been flowing. Alignment opens the channel. Money, success, relationships, and peace are not separate currents. They are expressions of one vibration. When you align spiritually, everything aligns materially. When you fix one frequency, all related frequencies harmonize. This is why focusing on alignment is the master key. It automatically corrects what you once struggled to control. You stop managing outcomes and start mastering energy. You realize that every improvement outside begins with an adjustment inside. You are not out of luck, you are out of rhythm. You are not forgotten. You are out of tune. The moment you step back into divine alignment, the flow remembers you instantly, because the flow was never gone. It was waiting for resonance. Life is not withholding, it is mirroring. The rhythm you emit becomes the rhythm you receive. Misalignment is simply a temporary dissonance. And the cure is rhythm, repetition, and remembrance of truth. Every breath, every thought, every declaration can bring you closer to alignment. Speak as if wealth already obeys you. Feel as though you are already provided for. Move as though divine order is already in motion. The more you live in that vibration, the more it becomes your default state. Alignment then ceases to be a practice and becomes your nature. You stop aligning and simply are aligned. From that state, increase is inevitable. When you are aligned, effort transforms into expression. Work becomes worship. Giving becomes joy. Receiving becomes gratitude. You are no longer swinging fear and faith between contraction and expansion. You live in continuous flow, and that flow, once established, carries you effortlessly through life. Because divine law always fulfills itself through the aligned soul. Your words are the blueprint of your reality. Every syllable you release is an act of creation, whether you know it or not. Words are not just sounds, they are frequencies. They are the language through which spirit transforms the unseen into the seen. Long before matter takes form, words draw its outline. They design the energetic architecture upon which reality builds itself. Every structure in your life, your finances, your relationships, your peace, was once a thought spoken, a word declared, consciously or unconsciously. The invisible law listens to what you say, not merely to what you want. When the ancient text declared, "In the beginning was the Word," they were revealing an eternal principle, not a metaphor. The universe itself was spoken into being. Every planet, every law of gravity, every rhythm of nature is sustained by vibration, and your words are miniature replicas of that same creative vibration. You, too, are a creator in expression. When you speak, you command the same spiritual substance that formed galaxies. Words are your creative tools, silence is your raw material. Whatever you declare becomes the mold through which divine energy flows. Money, health, and opportunity do not respond to emotion alone. They respond to instruction. And the instruction is given through the word. You are never truly broke. You are simply under the influence of words that declare lack. You are never forgotten. You have only spoken absence so long that it has become your dominant vibration. The universe does not decide what to give you. It repeats back what you consistently announce. Your world is an echo chamber of your declarations. To understand this law is to awaken to your own authority. Most people speak carelessly, as though words vanish once spoken. They do not vanish, they vibrate. Each word carries life or death, expansion or contraction. A single phrase like, "I can't afford this," becomes a decree that instructs divine law to withhold supply. When you say, "Money comes easily to me," you send a different command, one that opens channels of opportunity. The law is impartial. It obeys the vibration, not the personality. Whether you speak truth or limitation, it fulfills the word. Your life right now is a record of what you have consistently said about yourself and your world. Listen to your daily language, and you will see the architecture of your reality. The words, "I am struggling," "I am trying," "never have enough," are not innocent expressions, they are blueprints. Each time you repeat them, you reinforce the design. Divine energy cannot build a mansion on a blueprint of scarcity. If you desire a new reality, you must draft a new linguistic design. Speak not what is, but what is desired, not what you fear, but what you choose to experience. To speak correctly does not mean to lie, it means to align. You are not denying reality. You are defining it according to divine law rather than sensory evidence. The law of the word does not ask you to pretend. It asks you to proclaim. Every declaration is a seed, and seeds do not manifest immediately. They grow in the invisible soil of vibration until the harvest appears. Many lose their manifestation because they uproot their seed with contradiction. They affirm abundance in the morning and then cancel it by saying, "I don't know how it will happen," at night. The universe cannot deliver stability to a mind that keeps revising its order. Your mouth is the steering wheel of your destiny. You turn the direction of your life by the phrases you repeat most often. If your speech is filled with complaint, your path becomes cluttered with resistance. If your speech is filled with gratitude, your path becomes lined with ease. You cannot travel toward wealth while your words point toward lack. The vibration of your speech must match the direction of your desire. The moment your language changes, the route begins to shift. Many people underestimate the power of self-talk. They think manifestation depends on what they say in rituals or affirmations, but the universe listens to the casual, habitual words, the ones you speak when you're not performing. Every "I am" statement is a decree of identity. When you say, "I am tired," you instruct your cells to produce fatigue. When you say, "I am blessed," you invite divine favor to reorganize your circumstances. The word, "I am," is sacred. It is the name of divine presence within you. To misuse it is to misuse creation itself. Your words do not just describe your emotional state, they perpetuate it. When you verbalize frustration, you amplify its frequency. When you verbalize gratitude, you multiply its energy. This is why spiritual masters guard their speech so carefully. They know that words are instruments, not toys. A careless word is like an instrument out of tune. It distorts the symphony of your life. To maintain alignment, you must refine your vocabulary until every phrase resonates with your desired vibration. Consider the language of prosperity. It does not speak in desperation or doubt. It speaks in certainty, peace, and command. It says, "All that I need comes to me in perfect timing." It says, "I am a magnet for divine opportunity." It says, "I am surrounded by infinite supply." These are not empty sentences. They are codes. Each one carries a vibration that instructs your subconscious mind to reorganize energy accordingly. Speak these codes long enough, and they will override the patterns of lack imprinted from your past. Words also influence collective energy. Every time you speak from truth, you elevate not just your own frequency but also the environment around you. Rooms remember vibrations. Conversations shape atmospheres. When you speak fear, You pollute the field when you speak faith, you purify it. This is why your speech is a sacred responsibility. You are either multiplying light or magnifying limitation. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to release divine frequency through your words. If you wish to change your financial condition, begin not with action but with articulation. Redefine your language. Remove every phrase that implies struggle or scarcity. Replace "I'm trying" with "am aligning." Replace "I need" with "I choose." Replace "I can't afford it" with "I'm open to receiving it." The law does not respond to your need. It responds to your command. Speak as one who has authority, and your reality will reorganize itself to match that authority. Some people wonder, how can words alone change my situation? The answer lies in vibration. Words are sound, and sound is energy. Energy rearranges matter. Every frequency carries a pattern, and patterns become form. This is not superstition, it is physics at its highest spiritual expression. When you speak consistently from a high vibration, you are literally rewriting the molecular structure of your environment. You are broadcasting a new command into the field of infinite potential. Over time, that field reshapes your circumstances to reflect the new signal. To master the law of the word, you must develop awareness. Before speaking, feel the vibration behind your sentence. Ask yourself, does this statement expand or contract my energy? Does it align with divine law or with human limitation? If it contracts you, remain silent. Silence is better than misaligned speech. But if it expands you, speak it boldly, repeatedly, rhythmically. Repetition ingrains vibration into the subconscious, and once the subconscious believes it, manifestation becomes automatic. There is also a deeper aspect to this law: the emotional tone behind the word. Words without emotion are like seeds without water. You must feel what you speak. The vibration of feeling gives life to the sound. When you say, "I am abundant," you must feel the warmth of that abundance in your chest. When you say, "I am favored," you must sense that favor wrapping around you like light. Words and feelings together create coherence. And coherence is the signal the universe responds to most powerfully. Becoming conscious of your speech is an initiation into spiritual maturity. You begin to recognize that complaining is not harmless venting, it is creative misuse. Gossip is not casual conversation, it is energy leakage. Self-deprecation is not humility, it is self-sabotage. When you understand that every word carries consequence, you speak with reverence. Your mouth becomes a sacred instrument, not of reaction, but of declaration. You speak less, but each word becomes more potent. You can trace every major turn in your life back to a word spoken. A decision declared, a truth affirmed, or a fear confessed. The spoken word seals energy into direction. Once you say it, the vibration begins to move. This is why silence before declaration is sacred. It allows you to choose consciously what vibration you wish to activate. Never rush to speak under emotional turbulence. Wait until peace returns, then speak from power. Peace aligns your word with divine intelligence, ensuring it carries authority. As you evolve, you will notice that your language becomes simpler yet stronger. You will stop over-explaining and start commanding. You will no longer say, "I hope it works out." You will say, "It is done." You will stop asking, "Will this happen?" and start affirming, "It is already unfolding." This is not arrogance, it is alignment. When your inner truth and outer word are one, the law responds immediately. Certainty is the language of creation. Even silence can be a word when charged with intention. There are moments when the most powerful thing you can do is to say nothing. To hold a vibration so strong that the field interprets it as a command. Silence is the purest form of speech, for it is speech in its energetic form. When your inner dialogue remains aligned, your outer world cannot help but mirror that peace. Ultimately, the law of the word reminds you that you are never a victim of circumstance. You are an author of vibration. Every chapter of your life is written through the syntax of your speech. If you desire a new chapter, begin by changing the words that define it. Speak as a creator, not as a reporter. Do not narrate the present, declare the divine. The universe is listening, always, waiting to turn your words into worlds. You cannot outwork spiritual misalignment. No matter how many hours you labor, how many strategies you attempt, or how many external adjustments you make, if your inner vibration is out of rhythm with divine law, your effort will always feel like swimming against an invisible current. This truth is not a punishment, it is a principle. The universe is built on spiritual order, not on force. Effort within alignment's friction. Effort within alignment is flow. The modern world glorifies work. It teaches you that hustle is holiness, that sacrifice is virtue, that exhaustion is proof of worth. You are told that if you just work harder, you will eventually earn peace. Yet what few realize is that unaligned action multiplies resistance. It expands chaos instead of order. You can spend your life striving to build abundance through human effort and still remain spiritually bankrupt, because divine law cannot flow through disorder. When your vibration contradicts your desire, no amount of physical effort can bridge that gap. Think of divine law as a river, constant, abundant, perfectly flowing. When you are aligned, you place yourself in that river, and the current carries you with ease. When you are misaligned, you step onto the shore and try to push the water yourself. You become tired, frustrated, even resentful, because you are doing alone what the current was designed to do for you. That is what it means to outwork spiritual misalignment. To replace trust with toil, grace with grind, flow with fight. Effort is not the enemy, but misdirected effort is. Physical work has its place, it is the expression of inner intention. But when effort replaces alignment, when you act from fear, panic, or scarcity, you enter the realm of struggle. You can spend hours chasing clients, forcing outcomes, or manipulating opportunities. But if the foundation of your vibration is fear of not having enough, your actions carry that fear as a seed. And fear cannot produce abundance. Every result born of fear eventually collapses, because it was built outside of divine order. The universe does not reward struggle, it rewards synchronization. The law is simple: energy precedes form. Inner state precedes outer manifestation. You cannot plant seeds of tension and expect a harvest of peace. You cannot radiate lack and expect a return of plenty. When your vibration is not congruent with your declaration, the universe must honor the vibration, not the words. This is why many people pray for abundance yet live in scarcity. Their prayers speak faith, but their emotions vibrate fear. The law does not hear their sentences, it hears their frequency. To outwork misalignment is to believe that labor can override law. But law is not negotiable. You cannot hustle your way out of a vibrational contradiction. You can temporarily create results through force, but they will not last. Anything built on misalignment must eventually return to dust, for it lacks the foundation of divine order. True prosperity is sustained only by coherence, by the agreement between your mind, your word, your feeling, and divine truth. The ego loves to take credit for outcomes. It says, "Look what I built through my effort." But divine law whispers, it was never your effort. It was your alignment that allowed effort to become fruitful. You can work 10 hours in misalignment and achieve nothing. Yet 1 hour in divine can accomplish more than years of struggle. The difference is not time, it is tone. The tone of your vibration. When tone matches truth, even small action becomes multiplied by the universe. Misalignment distorts perception. It makes you believe you must fight for what is already yours. It convinces you that provision is scarce, that opportunities must be chased, that blessings must be earned. But divine law does not operate on earning, it operates on resonance. You do not earn the flow, you remember it. You do not force success, you align with its frequency. The harder you try to control outcomes from misalignment, the further you drift from ease. There is a rhythm to divine creation, a sequence of rest before manifestation. Even God, after creation, rested, not because of exhaustion, but because rest is part of rhythm. When you ignore rest, when you glorify constant motion, you step outside that rhythm. You declare by your action that do not trust the law to fulfill itself. Rest is a form of faith. Stillness is proof of belief. It is not laziness, it is alignment in silence. From that place, inspired action arises naturally, and the results appear effortlessly, because they are not forced, they are allowed. To understand this is to understand grace. Grace is the multiplier that enters when effort and alignment meet. Effort alone adds, grace multiplies. Alignment invites grace. When you are in alignment, your work becomes magnetic. People begin to find you. Resources begin to locate you. The right ideas drop into your awareness. You no longer chase, you attract. This is not passivity. It is intelligent action guided by divine order. Many people believe that success requires suffering. They have inherited the belief that struggle purifies, and that pain is proof of purpose. But divine law teaches the opposite. Joy is proof of alignment. Ease is evidence of truth. You were not designed to fight with life. You were designed to flow with it. When you act from peace, you invoke power. When you act from anxiety, you invoke resistance. The energy behind the action determines its fruit. You cannot hide vibration beneath performance. You may appear successful for a moment. The outer world may even celebrate your achievements. But if those achievements were born from fear, they will demand constant maintenance. You will have to keep hustling to protect them, because they were built on unstable frequency. When something is born in alignment, it sustains itself through rhythm. It grows without strain, because it carries the vibration of its source. Divine creation always sustains what divine alignment begins. To move from misalignment to alignment, you must shift your motive. Ask yourself, why am I working? If your motive is fear, fear of lack, fear of time, fear of being forgotten, if you are in misalignment. If your motive is expression, joy, and service, you are in flow. The energy of motive defines the energy of manifestation. When your work becomes an act of worship rather than worry, prosperity becomes the natural side effect. This principle also applies to giving. Many give from guilt or pressure, believing that their giving will somehow buy favor. But divine law does not recognize guilt-based giving. It multiplies only joy-based giving, for guilt aligns with abundance, and guilt aligns with lack. The same applies to action. Inspired action expands. Fearful action contracts. When you align your energy before you act, you ensure that every step you take carries divine momentum. You cannot substitute motion for meditation. The world teaches speed. Divine law teaches stillness. The most powerful work you can do is inner work. Reordering your vibration, cleansing your speech, renewing your belief. Once that inner rhythm is right, the outer rhythm becomes effortless. You will still work, but your work will no longer feel heavy. It will feel guided, almost carried. You will not push life. Life will pull you. Spiritual misalignment is like building a house on unstable ground. No matter how perfect your design or how hard you labor, if the foundation is not steady, the structure will fall. Alignment is the foundation. Without it, success collapses under its own weight. This is why some people achieve yet feel empty, or reach goals yet feel lost. Because they worked outside divine rhythm. Their effort built form, but it lacked spirit. Alignment infuses form with meaning. True success is not the product of strain, it is the reflection of spiritual coherence. When your mind, heart, and action move as one with divine law, creation becomes effortless. You do not compete, you complete. You no longer beg the universe for provision. You become the vibration of provision itself. And the universe, by law, must reflect that state. So pause before every action and ask, is this movement born of alignment or anxiety? If anxiety is the source, stop. Realign first. The few minutes you spend restoring vibration will save you months of fruitless effort. The stillness that precedes aligned action contains more power than endless unaligned labor. You cannot outwork spiritual misalignment, but you can out-align every obstacle. The moment you choose alignment over exhaustion, faith over fear, rhythm over reaction, divine law begins to cooperate with you again. And when law cooperates, the impossible becomes ordinary. Effort transforms into flow. Action becomes an echo of divine will. From that place, your work becomes sacred, not a struggle to survive, but a rhythm through which divine abundance expresses itself effortlessly through you. Money responds to vibration, not effort. This single truth reshapes everything you've been taught about success, wealth, and achievement. The modern world celebrates effort, long hours, relentless hustle, and sacrifice as proof of commitment. Yet divine law does not measure the volume of your labor. It measures the tone of your vibration. It does not ask how much you did. It asks from what frequency did you do it. Vibration is the spiritual signal you emit through your thoughts, emotions, and words. It is not visible to the eye, yet it governs every material outcome. Every desire you hold, every goal you pursue, every amount of money you seek, all of it is drawn to the vibration that matches it. Money is not chasing anyone. It is responding. It is like a tuning fork that vibrates only when it meets its matching tone. If your frequency carries scarcity, fear, or self-doubt, then abundance cannot harmonize with you because it is tuned to a higher rhythm, one of gratitude, joy, and confident expectation. The common misunderstanding is that money comes through work alone. People think if they work harder, longer, or smarter, they will finally achieve peace. But countless people labor endlessly, and yet remain anxious and unstable, because their inner state has not changed. The world may reward skill and speed temporarily, but divine law rewards alignment eternally. Money is spiritual energy wearing material clothing. It mirrors your belief system. It amplifies your emotional tone. When you radiate anxiety, you push abundance away. When you radiate confidence and gratitude, you pull it closer. This is not imagination. It is resonance. Just as a magnet cannot attract what it repels, your energy cannot attract what it contradicts. You can repeat affirmations all day. But if beneath those words lies the feeling of fear, the vibration of fear wins. The universe listens not to what you say, but to what you mean. Your emotion is the amplifier that tells divine law what to multiply. Think of vibration as the language of spirit. Effort speaks in the material world. Vibration speaks in the invisible one. If your inner vibration says, I am always behind, divine law echoes that frequency back as delayed opportunities. If your vibration says, I am always struggling, the law replies, so it is. But if your vibration radiates certainty, abundance, and peace, then even before you act, the world begins rearranging itself to honor your tone. People, resources, and ideas start aligning in perfect timing. This is why two people can work the same job, take the same actions, yet live two completely different realities. One is trapped in survival mode, always chasing, always afraid of losing. The other moves in flow, guided by intuition, receiving more with less strain. The difference is not effort, It is energy. The second person's vibration is already in agreement with wealth, so wealth naturally responds. The first person's vibration is in conflict, so effort feels heavy and unrewarding. Money has no emotions, yet it reacts perfectly to the emotions behind your actions. It is neutral substance waiting to be commanded by your state. When you worry about money, you instruct it to flee. When you bless it, you instruct it to expand. Every time you say, "I never have enough," you are casting a spell of scarcity. Every time you say, "My supply is endless," you open the gates of provision. The law of vibration is impartial. It multiplies whatever tone it receives. To understand vibration is to understand that the invisible always precedes the visible. The outer world is a delayed reflection of the inner one. You cannot demand abundance while vibrating fear any more than you can see a smile in the mirror before smiling yourself. The reflection follows the expression. That is divine order. So how do you shift vibration? Through awareness and practice. Every thought carries a frequency. Every emotion transmits a signal. When you catch yourself speaking lack, stop. Replace it instantly with a declaration of sufficiency. When you feel fear rising, breathe into it until peace returns. The moment you shift your emotional tone, your vibration changes, and that change begins transmitting a new command to the spiritual field around you. Gratitude is one of the highest financial frequencies. It tells the universe, "I already have enough," and therefore it multiplies enough. Complaining, on the other hand, signals insufficiency, and divine law simply mirrors that tone. This is not superstition, it is resonance. You cannot fake vibration. You must become it. There is a sacred difference between inspired action and anxious effort. Inspired action flows from alignment. It feels light, intuitive, even joyful. Anxious effort comes from fear. It feels forced, uncertain, heavy. Both may look identical on the outside, but their vibrations tell two different stories. Inspired action opens doors with ease. Anxious effort knocks endlessly on locked ones. Money recognizes faith. It feels safety and confidence. It trusts those who trust themselves. It flows to those who honor it with gratitude and direction. When you know who you are, a vessel of divine supply, your vibration communicates that certainty without a word. People sense it. Opportunities sense it. Even time itself bends around that energy. You are not meant to chase vibration. You are meant to embody it. To sit quietly each day and attune your spirit to abundance before you act. To speak words that sound like prosperity until your subconscious believes them. To move with the calm of one who already possesses what they seek. This is how vibration governs money, not by hope, but by harmony. You can think of vibration as the emotional currency of the universe. Every moment you are spending or saving vibration. Fear is an expense. Faith is an investment. Doubt drains your account. Gratitude compounds interest. When you understand this, you begin to care more about your internal energy than about circumstances. You stop reacting to lack and start creating through rhythm. Money loves clarity. It loves direction. It flows toward those who are clear about what they desire and who stand in the vibration of already having it. It hesitates around those who send mixed signals, those who affirm abundance one moment and complain the next. Divine law cannot obey contradiction. It fulfills consistency. When your vibration and your desire are one, effort becomes sacred play. You no longer work to get, you work to express. You no longer fear loss, you expect return. Money becomes a mirror of your peace instead of your panic. That is when miracles appear effortlessly. Not because you chased them, but because you matched them. To live in the vibration of abundance is to train your body, mind, and emotions to stay at peace regardless of appearances. Even when circumstances look uncertain, You hold your tone steady. You speak the truth anyway. My supply is endless. My source is divine. My needs are met before I ask. That steadiness is magnetic. The law cannot resist it. The outer must bend to match the inner. So remember, effort alone cannot rewrite vibration. You cannot outwork energy. The one who is aligned vibrationally will accomplish more through one inspired decision than the misaligned person can through 1,000 actions. The goal, therefore, is not more effort but pure energy. When your vibration becomes one with faith, gratitude, and certainty, money no longer feels distant. It becomes obedient, a servant to your rhythm. And that rhythm, once mastered, turns every action into a command, every word into a seed, every day into proof that abundance is not earned through struggle, but summoned through alignment. Law of the Word. The first gate of creation. The foundation upon which divine manifestation rests. Every word you speak is a decree, a mold, a spiritual command that instructs the invisible to take form. Words are not sounds, they are forces. They are frequencies wrapped in breath. When you speak, you do not simply describe reality. You direct it. The universe is not deaf to you. It is obedient to you. It listens with perfect precision, translating your every declaration into corresponding material experience. In the unseen world, your voice is your wand. Every sentence you release carries the vibration of your belief, and divine law multiplies that vibration without judgment. The law does not ask whether your words are wise, fearful, hopeful, or careless. It only fulfills the tone. If you speak fear, it multiplies fear. If you speak faith, it multiplies faith. The spiritual world is exact, mathematical in its obedience. Every word is a seed, and every seed must bear fruit after its own kind. When you say, "I'm always behind," you program your life to reflect delay. When you sigh, "I can't afford that," you instruct divine substance to limit your flow. When you joke, "I'm broke again," the universe confirms, so it is. The law does not laugh with you, it records you. Every casual phrase becomes a command to your own future. This is why the careless use of language is one of humanity's greatest hidden causes of struggle. People are unconsciously cursing their own prosperity while waiting for miracles to arrive. But the same mouth that can curse can also command. When you awaken to the law of the word, you realize that your speech is sacred technology. You begin to speak with intention, rhythm, and reverence. You stop describing the world as it appears and start declaring it as you desire. You no longer use your words as thermometers to measure your circumstances. You use them as thermostats to set them. You stop echoing your bank account and begin rewriting it with every sentence you speak. To walk in the law of the word is to reclaim your creative authority. You understand that silence is neutrality and speech is activation. Nothing moves until the word is spoken. In Genesis, creation began not with thought but with speech. And God said, that same creative template lives within you. You are made in the image of the Creator, which means your words carry the same spiritual blueprint. They call substance into form. You were never meant to live by observation. You were meant to live by declaration. Your mouth is the gate of manifestation. Every word you speak opens or closes spiritual channels. Fearful speech clogs the flow of divine supply. Faithful speech releases it. You do not speak what you see. You speak to see. The word precedes the vision. When you say, "My voice is the vessel of increase," you are not pretending. You are programming the field around you to align with that identity. When you declare, "Every word I speak is a financial seed," you begin to train your subconscious mind to treat language as sacred, not casual. And when you proclaim, "I only speak what I wish to see," you are commanding divine intelligence to form your world according to your choice, not your fear. The power of the word lies not in volume, but in vibration. Whispered truth carries more weight than shouted doubt. The strength of your declaration depends on the purity of your belief behind it. That is why daily practice is essential. To train your energy to match your expression. Each repetition carves new grooves in your consciousness until faith becomes your natural language. Words do not just describe reality, they instruct matter. Quantum physics now echoes what ancient spiritual law has always taught: observation and language influence energy fields. The particles of creation respond to intention and attention. Every time you speak, you are collapsing potential into form. You are choosing which version of reality becomes visible. This is why the universe never contradicts you. It simply agrees. You must stop arguing for your limitations. I can't, I'm trying, or it's hard becomes a legal contract between your consciousness and divine law. The law has no bias. It will fulfill whatever decree you sign with your words. If you keep saying, "Money never stays with me," it will obey. If you instead say, "I am a magnet for the provision," it will obey that too. Your mouth determines your covenant. When you fully embrace this principle, your speech becomes a spiritual discipline. You become aware of every phrase before it leaves your lips. You no longer engage in gossip, complaint, or sarcasm about lack, because you understand that those are not harmless habits. They are destructive incantations. You stop repeating the patterns of fear you inherited from others. You begin to guard your mouth as sacred territory. The law of the word is also the law of rhythm. What you speak repeatedly becomes embedded in your subconscious mind, and your subconscious is the silent engine of your vibration. If you speak abundance daily, your mind begins to vibrate with abundance even before evidence appears. Your body starts to relax into wealth consciousness. Your emotions begin to match prosperity. And because vibration governs manifestation, the external world must respond to this internal consistency. You cannot use the word once and expect transformation. Law responds to rhythm, not randomness. Just as a musician masters a melody through repetition, you master manifestation through daily declaration. You speak not to convince the universe, but to reprogram yourself. You repeat truth until the subconscious accepts it as fact. The moment belief and speech agree, manifestation becomes automatic. This law also demands awareness of timing. There are moments when silence is powerful, not the silence of doubt, but the silence of certainty. After you declare, you do not rush to fill the void with worry. You let the word settle, trusting that divine substance is already forming. The farmer does not dig up the seed every hour to check its growth. He plants, speaks blessing, and allows time to perform its part. The law of the word follows the same rhythm. Speak, believe, rest, and witness. When your word aligns with divine truth, the universe rushes to fulfill it. When your word contradicts divine truth, the universe still fulfills it. But you will not like the outcome. That is why discernment is essential. Never speak what you do not want multiplied. The moment you declare something, the law begins arranging reality to reflect it. This is why spiritual masters speak very little, not from shyness, but from mastery. They understand that every syllable carries creative consequence. The greatest misuse of the word is idle talk, speech without awareness. Every complaint, every "I'm so tired," every "nothing ever works for me," is an invitation to stagnation. These phrases might seem harmless, but they are affirmations of the very reality you wish to escape. Instead, learn to sanctify your speech. Replace complaint with command. Replace reaction with rhythm. Instead of saying, "I don't know how it will happen," say, "It is already happening through divine order." You can change your entire life by changing your vocabulary. Your language shapes your reality more than your labor ever could. Speak in the tone of victory, and victory begins to organize itself around you. Speak as if divine abundance already obeys you, and soon it must. The law cannot deny consistent frequency. Money, health, relationships, all of them are mirrors of a word you have spoken over them. If you speak confusion, they mirror chaos. If you speak clarity, they mirror order. Your words are the architects of your destiny. Every declaration builds the structure you will one day inhabit. Speak carelessly, and you live in a house of contradiction. Speak consciously, and you live in a palace of peace. To obey the law of the word is to treat your mouth as an altar. Every phrase becomes prayer. Every sentence becomes seed. Every declaration becomes decree. The invisible listens, records, and responds with perfect accuracy. If your outer world feels uncertain, do not blame circumstance. Listen to your language. Somewhere, your speech has been out of rhythm with your truth. Adjust it, and the external must follow. You are not powerless. You are not waiting on luck or permission. You are the living word made flesh. A creator disguised as a human voice. When you finally speak as one who knows this, not hopes but knows, then divine law can no longer withhold manifestation. Because the law of the word does not play favorites. It only fulfills frequency. And when your frequency becomes truth itself, everything you speak must come to pass. The law of rhythm, the divine heartbeat that governs all existence, the pulse beneath every wave, the inhale and exhale of creation itself. Everything in this universe moves in rhythm. Every season, every tide, every heartbeat, every breath, all of them flow in sacred pattern. The law of rhythm reminds us that nothing is static, everything oscillates between poles. Rise and fall, expansion and contraction, fullness and emptiness. These are not opposites in conflict, but phases in harmony. To understand this law is to stop resisting the movement of life and to begin dancing with it. When you live unconscious of rhythm, you mistake temporary motion for permanent condition. You panic during contraction, you cling during expansion, and you suffer through both. But when you awaken to divine rhythm, you realized every cycle carries purpose. Nothing remains fixed, because life is designed to evolve through movement. The law of rhythm governs not only nature but also finance, relationships, emotions, and spiritual growth. There is rhythm in giving and receiving, in working and resting, in belying and releasing. To align with rhythm is to align with divine intelligence itself. Every wave that rises must fall, not as punishment but as preparation for another rise. The ebb creates space for the next flow. The decline prepares the soil for new abundance. When you resist the ebb, you trap yourself in fear and delay your next ascent. When you embrace it, you accelerate your renewal. Divine rhythm cannot be voided, it can only be honored. You cannot force summer to stay, but you can plant in winter knowing that spring will come again. That is faith in motion. The wisdom to trust cycles instead of fighting them. In human experience, rhythm often expresses itself as seasons of expansion followed by seasons of quiet. You may find yourself at times in great flow, opportunities multiplying, energy high, everything aligning effortlessly. Then suddenly silence arrives. Doors close, movement slows. If you do not understand rhythm, you may call this loss or failure. But if you are wise, you recognize it as recalibration. The divine never withdraws to punish you, it pauses to strengthen you. The stillness between beats is not absence, it is preparation. To master the law of rhythm, you must learn the sacred art of surrender. Surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. The choice to move with divine timing instead of against it. Just as a surfer reads the ocean, you must learn to read your own spiritual tide. When energy is high, you ride it. You create, build, act boldly. When energy recedes, you rest, reflect, and restore. Both movements are equally holy. The problem is that most people worship only the rise. They chase perpetual growth, perpetual gain, perpetual doing. But rhythm requires rest as much as action. Constant motion without stillness breaks flow and leads to burnout, confusion, and loss of clarity. This law also governs wealth. Financial flow follows rhythm. There will be seasons of increase and seasons of reorganization. If you panic during the reorganization phase, you disrupt your abundance cycle. If you understand it, you stabilize it. The wise know how to save during overflow and how to remain calm during the ebb. Money, like energy, needs circulation. It cannot remain stagnant. Giving and receiving are part of the same rhythm. When you withhold giving out of fear, you block receiving. When you give freely, you expand your capacity to receive. Flow must move both ways. The law of rhythm teaches patience. It dissolves anxiety by revealing that every phase is temporary. If you are in contraction, it will pass. If you are in expansion, it too will evolve into something new. This awareness prevents arrogance in success and despair in difficulty. Rhythm humbles and balances the soul. It reminds you that divine timing cannot be rushed. Each season carries wisdom you cannot learn in any other. The winter of stillness teaches surrender. The spring of newness teaches faith. The summer of abundance teaches gratitude. The autumn of harvest teaches release. Each is necessary. Most people lose peace because they confuse rhythm with randomness. They believe life is chaotic, unpredictable, and unfair. But once you see rhythm, you realize there is no chaos. Only cycles misunderstood. The tide recedes not to punish the shore, but to gather strength for return. The same divine rhythm moves through your life. Every silence conceals sound preparing to emerge again. Rhythm also governs emotion. You will not feel inspired every day, and that is by design. There will be days when silence speaks louder than joy. If you mistake that silence for spiritual failure, you interrupt the rhythm of renewal. Let yourself est emotionally. Let yourself experience ebb without fear. The heart, like the sea, cannot remain in constant motion. It must pause between waves to regain strength. When you honor that natural pulse, your peace deepens. At the level of spirit, rhythm reveals itself as the oscillation between manifestation and mystery. There are times when everything you've spoken begins to appear. Blessings unfold. Ideas manifest. The invisible becomes visible. Then there are times when manifestation slows, and you are left in mystery. This is not loss, it is gestation. The seed does not sprout instantly after planting. It rests beneath the soil, invisible but alive. That resting is rhythm, divine patience in motion. To align with rhythm is to listen deeply. The universe is always playing music, but few pause long enough to hear it. Every choice, every event, every coincidence is part of a grand symphony. When you are out of rhythm, life feels noisy, dissonant, heavy. When you return to rhythm, everything begins to synchronize. People arrive at the right moment, ideas flow, time feels elastic. You are no longer forcing tempo, you are moving with the score. The ego resists rhythm because it fears losing control. It wants constant proof, constant progress, constant certainty. But divine rhythm does not serve the ego's urgency. It serves your evolution. Sometimes, what feels like delay is divine rhythm protecting you from premature success. Sometimes, what feels like loss is divine rhythm pruning you for expansion. If you can trust this, your anxiety dissolves into alignment. Every element of creation expresses rhythm day and night, inhale and exhale, sound and silence, rest and movement. Even your heartbeat testifies to it. Expansion, contraction, pause, repeat. If your heart tried to only expand, it would burst. If it only contracted, it would cease. Its life depends on the alternating rhythm. So does yours. To resist contraction is to resist your own renewal. The law of rhythm is also the law of trust. When you cannot see progress, you must remember the unseen is still moving. When it seems like nothing is happening, rhythm is recalibrating your energy behind the scenes. The divine never stops working, it only shifts tempo. Your role is to remain steady, faithful, and attuned to timing. In the realm of manifestation, rhythm teaches discernment. You cannot plant and harvest at once. Each season serves its own purpose. When you understand that, you stop forcing outcomes. You no longer chase timing, you align with it. You act when moved, rest when guided, and speak when inspired. Your rhythm becomes divine rhythm, and manifestation flows naturally. Rhythm brings freedom. It teaches you to flow instead of fight. It allows you to be fully present without obsession over control. It restores peace because you realize that everything, even delay, is working in perfect time. There is no need to rush what divine rhythm is already orchestrating. When you surrender to that awareness, your life becomes music, not noise, not chaos, but harmony. The law of rhythm asks you to trust both motion and stillness. It asks you to dance when the beat rises and to breathe when it fades. It asks you to remember that nothing lost is ever wasted. It is simply cycling toward transformation. Your only task is to stay in tune. When you live in rhythm with divine order, your effort becomes graceful, your timing becomes perfect, and your path becomes effortless flow. Rhythm is not just a law, it is love in motion. It is the pulse of the Creator beating through every cell, every wave, every breath. When you finally attune yourself to that heartbeat, life stops feeling like struggle and begins to feel like song. The law of substitution, the silent transformer of reality, the sacred mechanism that rewires the mind and reorders the energy of your life. This law declares that no negative thought can be destroyed by force. It can only be replaced by a higher vibration. You cannot erase darkness by fighting it. You replace it by turning on light. You cannot silence fear by shouting at it. You dissolve it by introducing faith. The universe does not respond to resistance. It responds to redirection. What you focus on expands, and what you substitute transforms. Every thought carries frequency. Every emotion holds vibration. When you allow low-frequency thoughts, fear, lack, doubt, to occupy your mind, you anchor your vibration to scarcity. The law of substitution teaches that the only way to shift that vibration is not through suppression or denial, but through deliberate replacement. The moment a limiting thought arises, you do not analyze it, you substitute it. You interrupt the mental program and install a higher code. This is not positive thinking. It is spiritual engineering. It is the conscious act of reprogramming your mind to obey divine law instead of human habit. The subconscious mind, your silent servant, does not distinguish between truth and lie, faith and fear, love and worry. It accepts whatever is repeated with emotional charge. Every thought you allow to linger becomes instruction to your inner world. If you think lack, you program scarcity. If you think abundance, you program prosperity. The law of substitution is how you regain control of that programming. It allows you to take dominion over your mental climate. You become the editor of your vibration, choosing which frequencies remain and which are rewritten. This law operates in every moment. When the thought, "I can't," arises, you do not debate it, you replace it with, "I can," because divine intelligence supplies all ability. When you feel, "I'm not enough," you substitute instantly, "I am the complete expression of divine sufficiency." When worry whispers, "What if I fail?" you declare, "What if I succeed beyond measure?" Every substitution shifts your vibration. Every substitution tells the universe what you choose to multiply. The more consistent you are, the faster your subconscious begins to accept the new reality as truth. To practice substitution effectively, you must first develop awareness. Most people are prisoners of thought patterns they never question. Their minds replay fear and doubt like background music, and they mistake that noise for their own voice. The first step is to listen, really listen, to the rhythm of your inner language. What phrases do you repeat when no one is watching? What stories do you tell yourself about money, worth, and ability? Awareness exposes the old pattern. Substitution installs the new one. The law of substitution is a daily discipline, not a momentary technique. It requires you to become a guardian of thought, a custodian of consciousness. You must monitor your mental atmosphere, the way a gardener tends the soil, pulling out weeds of fear and planting seeds of faith. The gardener does not beg the weeds to leave. They are simply replaced by what the gardener chooses to grow. The same is true in the garden of your mind. You cannot beg anxiety to go. You must plant peace in its place. You cannot curse lack. You must cultivate gratitude. When practiced with intention, substitution becomes effortless. At first, it may feel mechanical, replacing thought after thought, repeating new affirmations, correcting your inner dialogue. But over time, your subconscious begins to cooperate. The new frequency becomes familiar, and the old one dissolves from lack of attention. You will find yourself naturally thinking abundance, naturally expecting favor, naturally speaking faith. The replacement becomes your reflex. That is when the law of substitution has taken root. Substitution is also the key to emotional mastery. Thoughts and emotions are intertwined. Every feeling begins as a thought. When you change the thought, you change the feeling. For example, if you feel fear about money, do not suppress it or deny it. Instead, replace the thought that created it. Fear says, "There isn't enough." Substitute, "I am connected to infinite supply." As the thought shifts, the emotion follows. You are not pretending, you are realigning. Emotional stability is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to redirect its source. This law aligns directly with divine rhythm, because substitution restores harmony. When you allow negative vibration to linger, you disrupt your spiritual rhythm. When you replace it with higher vibration, you restore flow. Substitution is the bridge between chaos and peace, between confusion and clarity, between scarcity and supply. Every time you substitute fear with faith, you tune yourself back to the rhythm of divine order. The universe itself uses substitution to create. When night ends, it does not fight the darkness, it introduces light. When winter fades, the earth does not battle the cold, it welcomes warmth. Nature demonstrates this law perfectly. Nothing is destroyed, everything is transformed through replacement. You, as a microcosm of the divine, operate the same way. You cannot eliminate thoughts, but you can elevate them. The law of substitution also reveals the danger of idle thinking. Every unguarded moment is an opportunity for low-frequency thoughts to re-enter your field. If you drift into daydreams of worry or replay old stories of struggle, you are unconsciously affirming them. The mind abhors a vacuum. It will always think something. Therefore, substitution is not an occasional act, it is continuous awareness. You fill your mind so completely with truth, there is no room for lies to take root. Words are your most powerful tool in this process. When the old vibration arises, speak the new one aloud. Sound carries frequency. Declaration amplifies substitution. Saying, "I am abundance in motion," with authority imprints it deeper into your subconscious than silent thought alone. The spoken word reinforces the new pattern, commanding both your inner and outer worlds to align. Remember, substitution is not denial. You are not pretending challenges do not exist. You are choosing to vibrate above them. You'd acknowledge what is, But you affirm what shall be. You do not say, "This problem doesn't exist." You say, "This problem is temporary, and divine solution is already manifesting." That subtle difference is the essence of spiritual mastery. You are not ignoring reality. You are rewriting it from the level of law. When you substitute consistently, life begins to reorganize around your new vibration. People, opportunities, and ideas that match your higher frequency start to appear. The outer world mirrors the inner substitution. You begin to experience divine coincidences, timely help, unexpected provision, effortless flow. This is not magic, it is alignment. The universe is obedient to vibration, and your vibration is shaped by thought. You will notice that as you master substitution, negativity loses its grip. Situations that once triggered you no longer have the same power. You respond instead of react. You observe instead of absorb. You maintain peace even when chaos attempts to enter. Because you now know that nothing outside you has power, unless you agree with it. Substitution withdraws your agreement from fear and signs a new contract with truth. The great spiritual teachers throughout history have spoken of this law under different names. "Resist not evil," said one master, not meaning to accept injustice, but to understand that resistance feeds what it fears. "Replace it instead with higher vibration. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind," said another. Substitution in its purest form. The world changes when the mind changes, and the mind changes when thoughts are substituted consciously. The law of substitution is also the foundation of prayer. True prayer is not begging, it is mental substitution. It is the deliberate replacement of worry with certainty, of hope with faith, of request with gratitude. When you pray from fear, you affirm lack. When you pray from knowing, you affirm abundance. Substitution elevates your prayer from pleading to commanding. To live by this law requires practice but not struggle. Each time you notice a thought that contradicts your divine nature, you replace it instantly. You do not scold yourself for having it. You simply exchange it. "I can't" becomes "I am capable." "Never have enough" becomes "I always have more than enough." "This is too hard" becomes "I am strengthened by divine intelligence." Over time, these substitutions build an entirely new mental world. One where prosperity feels natural, not forced. The beauty of substitution is that it does not depend on external change. You can practice it anywhere, at any time, regardless of circumstance. Even in chaos, you can substitute peace. Even in uncertainty, you can substitute trust. You regain power instantly because your inner world is always under your command. The more you practice, the faster your outer conditions obey the new pattern. The law of substitution is not a suggestion. It is a universal truth. Energy cannot be destroyed, but it can be transmuted. Thought cannot be erased, but it can be replaced. Every time you substitute lack with abundance, fear with faith, worry with gratitude, you are reprogramming the vibration that shapes your entire reality. Eventually, substitution becomes not something you do, but something you are. Your natural state becomes faith, joy, and expectation of good. And when that happens, divine law cannot help but respond in kind. The law of expectation. The silent architect of reality, the unseen bridge between faith and manifestation. It is the law that determines not merely what you desire, but what you receive. For you do not attract what you want, you attract what you expect. Expectation is not mere hope. It is certainty dressed in calm. It is the inner knowing that what you have spoken, declared, and believed is already on its way. It is the invisible contract between your faith and the universe. Signed not with emotion, but with conviction. Expectation is the vibration that completes manifestation. Desire begins the process. Belief strengthens it. Word commands it. But only expectation seals it. Without expectation, even the most passionate prayer remains unfinished. You can speak the words of wealth. You can practice the laws of circulation and assumption. But if your inner tone says, "I hope this works," the law reads hesitation as instruction. The universe mirrors the signal of your expectation, not the sound of your words. It listens to your vibration, not your vocabulary. Expectation is the energy of arrival. It carries the same frequency as fulfillment. When you truly expect abundance, your mind, your posture, your choices, and your energy begin to shift automatically. You no longer act like someone waiting. You act like someone preparing. The vibration of preparation is the evidence of expectation. You arrange your life as if what you've spoken is already unfolding. That is not fantasy. That is alignment. Faith imagines, expectation organizes. Faith sees, expectation moves. There is a sacred difference between hoping and expecting. Hope is passive, it waits. Expectation is active, it prepares. Hope says, maybe it will happen someday. Expectation says, it is happening now. Hope looks outward for confirmation. Expectation looks inward for authority. The person who lives in hope constantly checks their surroundings for signs. The person who lives in expectation knows that signs appear only after belief is complete. The moment you expect fully, creations to rearrange itself around your certainty. Expectation is law because the universe is obedient to vibration, not emotion. To expect is to emit a consistent signal, steady, unwavering, commanding. It tells divine substance, this is the pattern. Fill it. And the law always fulfills when is expected. If you expect delay, delay appears. If you expect disappointment, disappointment manifests. If you expect divine provision, the universe rushes to match it. You are never a victim of circumstance. You are a reflection of your dominant expectation. Think of the farmer who plants seed. After sowing, he does not sit in worry asking, will it grow? He expects the harvest because the law of the earth is faithful. He waters, he watches, he waits with confidence. That posture is expectation in motion. He knows that what was planted must rise, because the rhythm of nature cannot fail. The same is true for spiritual law. Your spoken word is seed. Your belief is soil. Your expectation is the sun that draws the harvest upward. Without expectation, the seed remains dormant, not because the law failed, but because the vibration of doubt withheld permission. Expectation is faith's most refined form. Faith begins where logic ends, but expectation lives where faith matures. It is the natural rhythm of divine trust, the certainty that even when nothing is visible, something is unfolding. You may not yet see evidence, but you feel the inevitability. Expectation does not demand signs, it produces them. When you wake with expectation, your vibration broadcasts readiness. Life responds by sending opportunities, connections, and confirmations that match your inner frequency. The law of expectation also exposes the subtle sabotage of worry. Worry is negative expectation, the magnetic power of fear dressed as foresight. To worry about loss is to expect loss. To imagine failure repeatedly is to prepare room for it. The universe, impartial and exact, cannot distinguish between fear and faith. It only reads frequency. That is why you must guard your expectation with the same discipline that you guard your words. You cannot pray for success while expecting struggle. You cannot speak wealth while expecting lack. Expectation and word must agree, or the signal becomes scrambled. To align with this law, begin by observing what you unconsciously expect each day. When you open your wallet, do you expect lack or provision? When you step into work, do you expect stress or opportunity? When you think about your future, do you expect divine favor or inevitable struggle? Every unspoken expectation is a silent command to the universe. You must train your inner dialogue to expect good, not randomly, but rhythmically, intentionally. daily. Expectation must live not only in words but in posture. It must appear in your tone, your movement, your attitude. When you expect abundance, your shoulders lift, your breath deepens, your decisions reflect confidence. You stop settling for less because you are certain of more. You stop chasing opportunities because you expect them to appear in divine timing. Expectation eliminates desperation. It replaces begging with certainty. You no longer ask if, you simply prepare for when. Expectation also governs timing. Many people grow frustrated because manifestation seems delayed, not realizing that impatience is low-frequency expectation. The law does not respond to timelines, it responds to trust. When you rush the process, you tell the universe you do not truly believe. Expectation requires patience, not passive waiting, but active faith. It means remaining calm even when results are unseen. It means speaking, "It is done," even when nothing looks finished. It means understanding that divine law operates outside human urgency. To live by the law of expectation is to practice spiritual precision. You must become aware of the vibration behind every statement, every thought, every assumption. When you say, "I always struggle," you are expecting struggle. When you sigh, "Money never stays," you are expecting instability. But when you declare, "Everything I release returns multiplied," and you expect it, the vibration transforms instantly. The law cannot resist clear command. It cannot ignore pure expectation. Expectation is not arrogance, it is agreement. It is saying yes to what divine law has already promised. When you expect wealth, you are not demanding from God. You are aligning with God's nature. When you expect provision, you are not forcing reality. You are harmonizing with spiritual rhythm. The divine mind does not release overflow into doubt. It releases it into faith-filled expectation. Every master of manifestation throughout history lived by this law. They did not speak with uncertainty. They spoke with command, then walked in expectation. They knew that the moment they declared something in alignment with divine law, the unseen forces of the universe began arranging it. They did not check the soil every hour to see if the seed had sprouted. They knew the process was already in motion. That is the essence of expectation. Unwavering calm born from spiritual certainty. Expectation is also contagious. When you live in it consistently, people around you begin to feel it. Your energy becomes magnetic. You attract collaborators, allies, clients, and relationships that match your frequency of certainty. Doubt repels, expectation attracts. It draws to you everything that harmonizes with your belief. To strengthen expectation, combine it with gratitude. Gratitude affirms what is, and expectation declares what is coming. Together they create the perfect vibration, one of contentment and expansion. When you thank the universe for blessings already received, you stabilize your vibration in abundance. When you expect more, you invite increase. Gratitude roots your faith in the present. Expectation stretches it into the future. Both operate as one rhythm of creation. The law of expectation also protects you from spiritual fatigue. Many give up right before manifestation because they misread silence as denial. But the divine delay is not rejection, it is alignment. Expectation keeps you anchored through the unseen stages of growth. You may not see the fruit yet, but expectation tells you it's ripening beneath the surface. Every thought of faith, every word of command, every act of obedience is a seed germinating in unseen soil. When you wake each morning, expect good news. Expect unexpected blessings. Expect confirmation. Expect peace, provision, and increase. Let this be your inner rhythm. The universe cannot resist a mind that vibrates in expectation because expectation signals completion. It tells the divine, the mold is ready. Pour the substance. And when you walk in that certainty, calm, confident, unwavering, the law responds without fail. Because in truth, expectation is the vibration of the fulfilled promise. It is the moment when faith stops hoping and starts knowing. It is the energy of the already done. And once you live in that energy, reality has no choice but to obey it. The law of agreement, the sacred synchronization between inner belief and outer word, between thought and declaration, between vibration and expression. This is the law that determines whether your creative command carries power or merely sound. Agreement is the foundation of manifestation because the universe only responds to unity. When mind, mouth, and energy are aligned, the law activates. When they contradict one another, the current breaks. You are a trinity of creation, thought, word, and emotion. Each must speak the same language for power to flow. If your words declare abundance, but your emotions vibrate lack, the law reads confusion, not conviction. If you affirm, I am wealthy, but internally you doubt it, the vibration cancels itself out. Manifestation requires agreement, not partial, not occasional, but complete. The universe listens not to your language, but to your alignment. It obeys coherence, not contradiction. Agreement is spiritual congruence. It is when your inner conversation matches your outer proclamation. It is when your heart and your mouth tell the same story. Every law of creation depends on it. The law of the word commands, the law of expectation confirms, but the law of agreement unifies them. Without agreement, your words lose charge, like an electrical current disconnected from its source. But when agreement is established, when your inner and outer worlds resonate in the same frequency, the energy of manifestation flows without resistance. This law explains why many speak affirmations yet see no change. Their lips move, but their energy resists. They speak abundance but feel unworthy. They declare love but expect rejection. They speak healing but believe in sickness. The universe cannot fulfill a fragmented vibration. It must obey the strongest frequency, and the strongest frequency is always emotion. That means if your spoken word says one thing, but your emotional tone says another, the law follows emotion. Agreement is not about perfect words. It is about unified energy. To practice this law, you must begin by observing your inner dialogue. What are you saying silently while speaking faith aloud? When you declare, I am prosperous, do you feel truth or tension? When you affirm, I am healthy, does your body relax or resist? Agreement begins with honesty. You cannot align what you refuse to see. Many people attempt to manifest while suppressing disbelief, but suppressed disbelief still vibrates. The only way to dissolve it is to face it and reprogram it through awareness and substitution until inner acceptance replaces inner resistance. Agreement also requires emotional harmony. Feelings are the body's language of vibration. You may intellectually understand abundance, but until you feel it as natural, the vibration remains incomplete. When you say, money flows easily to me, it must feel like truth, effortless, relaxed, certain. If you feel strain or desperation while saying it, that emotion reveals misalignment. Agreement is not mental repetition, it is emotional coherence. You must believe it so deeply that your body agrees. The law of agreement is also the bridge between prayer and manifestation. Many pray with their mouths while their minds contradict their own words. They ask for prosperity but visualize struggle. They say, yet silently think, what if it doesn't work? The universe cannot interpret mixed signals. It reads vibration as the final authority. Prayer only manifests when belief and declaration become one. Agreement is prayer's completion. The moment when you no longer ask for something but become it through vibration. In divine creation, agreement is the signal of readiness. When all parts of your being, thought, word, emotion, and expectation, vibrate together, Divine substance flows instantly. The moment alignment occurs, delay dissolves. That is why miracles often seem sudden. They are not sudden, they are synchronized. The manifestation appears the moment inner agreement reaches full harmony. To establish agreement, you must train both mind and speech. Begin by eliminating contradiction. Do not declare abundance in the morning and speak lack in the afternoon. Do not pray for increase and then complain about bills. Do not affirm divine timing and then express impatience. Every contradictory statement breaks agreement and weakens manifestation. Words are not casual. They are contracts. Each one carries spiritual weight. Agreement requires discipline. A commitment to speak only what aligns with your desired vibration. The law of agreement also operates collectively. When two or more minds unite in the same belief, vibration amplifies exponentially. That is why shared faith creates miracles. Agreement multiplies energy. When you surround yourself with those who believe as you do, your vibration stabilizes. But if you engage with voices of doubt, your field fractures. The company you keep can either reinforce or repel your manifestations. Spiritual agreement magnifies power, energetic discord drains it. You must therefore curate your environment, both internal and external. Align your words with truth, your emotions with peace, your companions with faith, and your actions with integrity. Each is a layer of agreement. You cannot affirm divine order and live in disorder. You cannot declare prosperity and act in fear. Agreement is total congruence. Thought, word, emotion, and behavior vibrating in one rhythm. When that rhythm stabilizes, manifestation becomes effortless because resistance has been removed. Agreement is also a law of authority. Creation responds to certainty, not confusion. When you speak in agreement, your word carries command. When you speak without it, your word carries noise. Mystic and spiritual master understood this, that power flows from unity of being. Jesus said, "If two of you agree on earth about anything, it shall be done." This was not merely about human pairs. It was about inner duality, the agreement of mind and spirit, belief and word. When they agree, the law obeys. When you are in disagreement with yourself, life mirrors it as delay, distortion, and difficulty. The external world simply reflects the internal fracture. But when you unify, when you silence inner debate, when your emotions and affirmations synchronize, life mirrors harmony. Doors open, timing aligns, manifestation flows. Agreement is the end of energetic conflict. To live in agreement requires vigilance. The moment you notice contradiction, in thought, speech, or emotion, pause and correct it. If you speak faith but feel doubt, return to your center and substitute a higher vibration until peace returns. If you feel misaligned, do not condemn yourself. Simply recalibrate. Agreement is a practice, not perfection. Over time, your mind learns to think truth naturally, your words follow easily, and your emotions rest in trust. You will know agreement has been reached when your declaration feels complete. When you speak, it is done, and something within you quietly says, yes. There is no tension, no strain, no need for repetition. The vibration itself feels whole. That feeling of spiritual ease is the signal of agreement. At that moment, the law moves instantly because the channel is clear. Agreement is not only about manifesting wealth or success, it is the foundation of divine peace. When your inner and outer worlds match, conflict ends. You no longer live divided between what you say and what you believe. Integrity returns to your vibration, and in that integrity lies immense power. For the universe itself is built on agreement. Light agrees with darkness to create dawn. Sky agrees with earth to create horizon. Spirit agrees with matter to create form. Creation itself is cooperation. Therefore, the law of agreement is not merely a technique, it is a way of being. It is living so aligned that every word you speak is truth in motion. It is when your energy, your belief, and your declaration become one sacred sound. And when that sound is pure, the universe cannot help but echo it back, multiplied, magnified, and made manifest. The law of identity, the most intuitive and transformative of all divine principles, declares that you can never receive or sustain anything that contradicts who you believe yourself to be. You do not attract what you wish for, you attract what you are. This law pierces deeper than affirmation, beyond effort, beyond discipline. It speaks to the core essence from which all manifestation flows, your self-concept. Identity is vibration in human form. It is the sum of your beliefs about who you are, what you deserve, and what is possible for you. Every thought, every action, every word is born from this silent conviction. You may try to speak abundance, but if you still identify as one who struggles, the vibration of struggle will override every declaration. The universe does not respond to performance. It responds to identity. The outer world mirrors the image you hold of yourself in the invisible. To live under the law of identity is to understand that your inner definition creates your outer condition. Everything you experience, wealth or lack, peace or turmoil, love or rejection, is a reflection of the identity you embody. You cannot manifest abundance from the identity of scarcity, nor success from the identity of failure. Every result in your life is evidence of who you have unconsciously decided to be. The moment you shift that identity, reality must rearrange to match it, because the law cannot resist your self-concept. The law of identity teaches is not about chasing. It is about becoming. You do not pursue prosperity. You embody the vibration of one who is prosperous. You do not plead for love. You become love's expression. You do not seek confidence. You assume it as your natural state. When you change your identity, action becomes effortless. Because everything you do flows from who you know yourself to be. The most powerful transformation is not external achievement, but internal redefinition. Your identity is not fixed. It is a living frequency shaped by repetition, emotion, and imagination. Every time you declare I am, you are programming your vibration. I am is the name of divine power within you. When you say, I am poor, you are not describing a condition. You are issuing a command to the universe. When you say, I am abundant, you are activating the pattern of divine supply. The universe echoes your I am. It rearranges creation to prove you right. That is why every spiritual teaching warns against careless identification. For your I am is law in motion. The tragedy of most people's lives is that they unconsciously live under borrowed identities, stories inherited from family, society, or past experience. They call themselves ordinary because others did. They accept limitation because culture normalized it. But the divine law does not recognize inherited identity. It responds only to chosen identity. You have the authority to redefine yourself at any moment. You can revoke every false name you've ever accepted. Failure, unworthy, unlucky, and replace it with your divine title creator, abundance, vessel of infinite intelligence. Changing identity is not about pretending. It is about remembering. Beneath the layers of fear and conditioning, your true nature is divine. The universe does not see you as limited. Only your learned identity does. The spiritual journey is the process of dissolving false self-images until only truth remains. The moment you remember your true identity, the extension of divine consciousness, every form of lack collapses, for lack cannot coexist with divine awareness. To apply this law consciously, begin by asking, who am I being right now? When you think about money, relationships, purpose, what identity are you inhabiting? Are you being the version of you who lacks, worries, and doubts? Or are you being the version who knows, commands, and flows? Every moment offers a choice between two identities, the limited self and the divine self. Whichever one you choose, the law obeys. Identity governs behavior automatically. You do not have to force change when you change identity. Action aligns naturally. For example, if you identify as healthy, you automatically feel drawn to movement, nourishment, and vitality. If you identify as prosperous, you naturally think in expansion, give generously, and expect increase. You no longer struggle to act differently, you act effortlessly from who you are. Transformation that begins at the level of identity is permanent because it reprograms the source code. The law of identity also explains why self-sabotage exists. When a person achieves something greater than their current self-concept allows, they unconsciously dismantle it. They cannot hold a vibration that exceeds their identity. That is why sudden wealth often vanishes, relationships crumble, or success feels temporary. The external reality outgrew the internal identity. Until identity expands, manifestation cannot stabilize. The key is not to work harder, but to become the kind of person for whom that reality feels natural. To evolve identity, imagination is your greatest tool. Imagination is not fantasy. It is the spiritual workshop of creation. When you visualize yourself as abundant, confident, or successful, you are not daydreaming. You are installing a new identity. The subconscious does not distinguish between reality and vividly imagined truth. The more you rehearse a new identity in imagination, seeing it, feeling it, speaking from it, the faster it becomes your dominant vibration. Once the subconscious accepts it, the outer world must mirror it. Every time you use I am, pause and listen. Do your declarations align with divine or human limitation? I am trying carries the vibration of struggle. I am becoming implies delay. But I am complete, whole certain carries the vibration of fulfillment. When you claim, I am abundance, you step out of waiting and into being. The moment you become it in consciousness, creation follows without resistance. The law of identity is also the key to spiritual authority. Every master who walked this earth operated from divine identity. They did not see themselves as victims of circumstance, but as extensions of infinite intelligence. When they spoke, reality obeyed, not because of magic, but because of self-concept. They knew who they were. They said, I and the Father are one. That is identity in perfect alignment, no separation, no doubt. From that awareness, command becomes creation. When your identity aligns with divine law, fear dissolves. Fear can only exist in separation, in the illusion that you are small, powerless, or alone. But when you remember your true self, infinite consciousness expressing through human form, you stop pleading and start directing. You stop asking life for permission and start collaborating with it. You no longer chase manifestation, you radiate it. Abundance, health, peace. They all become natural reflections of your being. The law of identity also demands integrity. You cannot claim to be divine and live in contradiction. Every thought, word, and action must echo your chosen identity. If you identify as abundance, act generously. If you identify as peace, respond calmly. If you identify as power, walk confidently. Identity without expression becomes theory. But when belief and behavior synchronize, the vibration strengthens until it reshapes reality. It is important to understand that identity is fluid. As consciousness expands, identity refines. You may begin by identifying as person becoming abundant. But soon you must transcend even that. Because true identity is not person at all. It is divine essence flowing through the form called you. The highest identity is not role-based. It is state-based. You are not a profession, a name, or a story. You are the creative consciousness animating them all. When you live from that awareness, you transcend competition, comparison, and fear. The moment you shift identity, everything recalibrates. Relationships adjust, opportunities appear, environments change. Not because the world suddenly favors you, but because it now mirrors who you are being. The universe must reflect your dominant identity. It has no choice. Law obeys identity like shadow obeys form. Identity is not something you earn. It is something you awaken to. Every time you meditate, affirm truth, or silence fear, you peel away another layer of false self. Eventually, you realize that you were never meant to become divine. You already are. Manifestation is simply the art of remembering your wholeness and allowing it to express through form. When you live from the law of identity, life feels effortless. You stop negotiating with circumstances and begin creating from knowing. You stop reacting to the outer world and start radiating from the inner one. Your words carry authority because they flow from authenticity. Your energy becomes magnetic because it vibrates truth. You cease to chase outcomes because your identity already contains them. You become, finally, what divine law always knew you to be: not a seeker of abundance, but abundance itself in motion. Not a beggar for love, but love embodied. Not a traveler toward purpose, but purpose expressing through you. This is the ultimate revelation of the law of identity. That you are not manifesting to get anything. You are remembering that you are everything. The law of obedience is the ultimate law of alignment. The anchor that holds all other divine laws in motion. It is the sacred seal that transforms knowledge into manifestation, theory into transformation, and inspiration into demonstration. Without obedience, the rhythm of divine wealth cannot sustain itself. Because obedience is what turns spiritual understanding into consistent vibration. It is not about submission to a higher power as a servant. It is about harmonizing with divine order as a co-creator. The universe operates through divine precision. Every law, from gravity to attraction, functions perfectly, not because it chooses to, but because it obeys its nature. The sun rises not by decision, but by law. The oceans do not rebel against the moon's pull. The seed does not argue with the soil. Obedience is woven into creation itself. It is rhythm, harmony, and divine alignment in action. And this same principle governs abundance. To live in the flow of provision, you must become as consistent, as rhythmic, and as obedient as the natural order that sustains the cosmos. Most people confuse obedience with restriction. They believe that following divine law limits freedom. But in truth, disobedience is what creates bondage. When you operate outside divine law, when your vibration contradicts the rhythm of truth, you invite resistance, confusion, and lack. Obedience, on the other hand, restores flow. It brings peace to the mind, power to the word, and prosperity to the path. Spiritual obedience is not slavery. It is alignment with the very frequencies that make freedom inevitable. The law of obedience teaches that manifestation is not a random act of will but a disciplined art of alignment. You do not need to understand every divine law to receive its benefit. You simply need to obey its rhythm. The same way you do not need to comprehend the science of electricity to receive light, you do not need to decode every mystery of spirit to receive abundance. You simply need to stay plugged in, obedient to divine principle, consistent in spiritual rhythm. Obedience is not an emotional reaction. It is a spiritual discipline. Feelings fluctuate, obedience remains. You may wake up uninspired, uncertain, or even afraid. But divine law responds not to emotion, only to consistency. The one who obeys daily, even when the mood is silent, carries more power than the one who feels spiritual only when it's convenient. Emotion burns like fire, but obedience flows like water, steady, quiet, unstoppable. Every divine instruction you receive, whether from scripture, intuition, or divine revelation, carries within it the seed of your increase. But that seed only grows through obedience. Hearing truth is not transformation, living it is. Speaking declarations without embodying their rhythm is like planting without watering. The moment you obey, energy begins to move. Circumstances shift. Doors open. Provision appears. Because the law recognizes obedience as agreement. It is your spiritual signature, your way of saying, I trust divine law more than appearances. Obedience is not about punishment or fear of consequence. Divine law does not punish, it reflects. When you disobey, you do not invoke wrath. You simply step out of alignment with flow. When you obey, you re-enter the current of grace. It is not personal, it is precise. Gravity does not hate the one who falls. It merely fulfills its law. Likewise, divine law does not favor or reject, it responds to vibration. Obedience ensures your vibration matches divine intention. To walk in the law of obedience is to live in spiritual rhythm. To make divine principle your daily pattern, not your occasional practice. It means you speak truth, even when fear tempts you to complain. It means you give when scarcity whispers that you should withhold. It means you trust when sight offers no evidence. It means you align with faith instead of reacting to fear. Every act of obedience trains your vibration to remain faithful under pressure, and that steadiness magnetizes abundance. There is a hidden power in the quiet obedience of daily rhythm. When you consistently obey divine law, by speaking truth, circulating money, assuming abundance, maintaining agreement, and living in identity, you become unstoppable. Nothing external can shake your foundation, because your rhythm becomes stronger than circumstance. This is the secret of every spiritual master. They did not wait for favorable conditions. They obeyed divine law regardless of condition, and the law in turn obeyed them. Obedience is also a test of trust. Many people partially obey. They apply the law when it feels comfortable, then retreat when fear arises. But divine law cannot multiply in hesitation. The moment you withdraw your faith, you interrupt the rhythm. The universe honors consistency. It multiplies momentum. Every time you obey without wavering, you demonstrate mastery. You declare through action that divine law, not circumstance, is your source. That declaration commands manifestation. The law of obedience teaches that the greatest spiritual power is continuity. Repetition is the heartbeat of creation. The sunrise repeats. The waves repeat. The breath repeats. Obedience is repetition made sacred, repeating divine alignment until it becomes your nature. When you obey consistently, divine law ceases to feel like effort and becomes instinct. You no longer try to believe, you live belief. You no longer strive to manifest, you embody manifestation. This law also dismantles the illusion of waiting. Most people delay their manifestation because they obey only after evidence appears. But divine order works in reverse. Obedience produces evidence. You do not wait for the harvest to water the seed, you water to receive the harvest. Similarly, you do not wait for prosperity to act in abundance. You act in abundance to activate prosperity. The law always rewards those who move in faith before sight. Obedience refines you. It burns away hesitation, indecision, and spiritual laziness. Every time you obey in faith, your vibration sharpens. You become clear, focused, and unwavering. Disobedience gathers energy, obedience gathers it. The obedient soul becomes like a tuning fork for divine intelligence. Receiving instruction, acting without delay, and watching miracles unfold as natural consequence. True obedience is not blind, it is conscious. It is not following external commands. It is listening to the inner authority of divine wisdom within. Your spirit always knows what aligns and what contradicts. Every time you silence fear and choose truth, you obey. Every time you act on divine intuition, even when logic resists, you obey. Every time you choose generosity over scarcity, peace over panic, gratitude over complaint, you obey. These small daily acts build the spiritual momentum that reshapes destiny. Obedience is also protection. When you live in divine rhythm, chaos cannot reach you. Fear cannot rule you. Confusion cannot deceive you. The obedient soul lives under spiritual laws covering, guided, provided for, and sustained. While the world reacts to instability, you move in unshakable peace, because your direction comes from divine order, not external circumstance. You live in rhythm with the infinite, and in that rhythm, all provision flows naturally. The most profound truth of the law of obedience is that it does not demand perfection, only persistence. You are not punished for forgetting. You are invited to return. Each moment is a new opportunity to realign, to obey again, to restart the rhythm. The law rewards rhythm, not rigidity. Consistent obedience over time rewires your consciousness, cleanses your vibration, and anchors you in divine flow. When you finally understand obedience, you stop bargaining with the universe. You no longer ask, "When will my manifestation come?" Because obedience is manifestation in progress. Every act of alignment is proof that creation is already underway. The moment you obey, money, opportunity, and favor begin their movement toward you. You may not see it yet, but the rhythm has begun, and the law never fails to fulfill its own pattern. The law of obedience is the final evidence of mastery. When you live it daily, every other law becomes effortless. The law of the word flows through your speech. The law of circulation governs your giving. The law of assumption shapes your energy. The law of agreement harmonizes your thoughts. The law of identity anchors your vibration. All move together under the authority of obedience. It is the seal of the covenant, the rhythm that cannot break, the command that cannot fail. And once you walk in it fully, you no longer chase wealth, manifestation, or proof. You simply obey, and creation obeys you in return. Your mouth is not a mirror. It is a mold. It was never designed to describe what is. It was created to command what shall be. The law of the word teaches that every utterance shapes substance. But the law of identity reveals who's doing the shaping. The law of obedience sustains it. But the sacred truth beneath them all is this: your mouth is a creator, not a reporter. The power of speech is not in observation, but in origination. You are not here to echo your circumstances. You are here to establish them. Most people use their words to confirm their conditions. They narrate their problems as if language were meant to express emotion, rather than embody authority. Tired. I'm broke. I'm trying. Nothing ever works for me. These phrases feel harmless, casual, human. But in the spiritual dimension, every word carries weight. Each sentence is a decree, each complaint a command, each sigh a signal sent into the visible field of creation. The universe is not sentimental, it is obedient. It listens not to your intentions, but to your vibration. And your vibration is most clearly revealed through the words you repeat. Your mouth was given to you as a divine tool, a spiritual scepter. In the unseen world, sound creates structure. When you speak, you release vibration that organizes substance. The words, "Let there be light," did not describe a wish, they generated illumination. In that same image, you were formed, endowed with creative speech that can sculpt reality. Every declaration is a blueprint. What you affirm is what takes form. The tragedy is that most people use this power against themselves. They speak what they see instead of what they desire. They give commentary on limitation instead of command over abundance. They turn their mouths into thermometers, measuring the temperature of life, instead of thermostats that set it. When you say, "I can't afford this," you close the door that could have opened. When you joke, "I'm always unlucky," you stamp that vibration into your subconscious. The law does not laugh, it fulfills. The spiritual world multiplies what your words broadcast. Without emotion, without analysis, without delay. To live by the truth that your mouth is a creator, not a reporter, you must first unlearn the human habit of casual speech. Words are sacred instruments, not fillers for silence. Each phrase should be deliberate, each declaration intentional. When you speak, you are not merely expressing thought. You are planting energetic seeds that must return multiplied. Speak as if the universe is taking notes, because it is. Consider the pattern of creation itself. Nothing existed until something was spoken. Vibration preceded formation. Sound became structure. In that pattern, your own creative power is revealed. Every time you speak truth in faith, you are participating in the same process that shaped the cosmos. Every "I am" is a new genesis, a world being born from your tongue. Your mouth cannot serve two masters. It cannot create abundance and complain simultaneously. You cannot affirm prosperity in the morning and speak defeat by evening. Mixed vibration creates distortion. The law responds to clarity. When your speech is pure, aligned, focused, rhythmic, manifestation accelerates. But when your words contradict your intention, you cancel your own command. One "I can't" can undo 100 "I ams." That is why discipline of the tongue is the foundation of all spiritual mastery. Your words are not just heard by the universe, they are heard by you. Each phrase sinks into your subconscious mind, programming your vibration. When you repeatedly speak of lack, struggle, or limitation, you are not only sending that signal outward, you are convincing your inner system to accept it as truth. Over time, your body, emotions, and energy field conform to the narrative you've spoken. The subconscious does not argue. It simply agrees, obeys, and reflects. That is why scripture and spiritual traditions emphasize confession, declaration, and mantra. Repetition builds reality. The power of the mouth is magnified by belief, but it does not depend on it. Even when you speak unconsciously, the law still acts. Whether you affirm by design or by default, creation moves. The universe does not pause to ask if you meant it. That is why awareness is everything. The more consciously you speak, the more deliberately you create. When you begin to use your mouth as a tool of creation rather than reaction, you enter a new dimension of authority. Instead of saying, "I hope this happens," you say, "It is happening." Instead of, "I wish I had more money," you declare, "I am always provided for." Instead of, "Things never work out for me," you command, "Everything aligns for my highest good." These are not affirmations. They are instructions. The difference is vibration. One speaks from doubt, the other from dominion. You must also learn to guard your mouth from echoing the frequencies of others. The world will always invite you to speak fear, gossip, or complaint. But divine law requires separation from that rhythm. You are not a repeater of collective confusion. You are a conductor of divine intelligence. When others speak of scarcity, stay silent or counter with truth. When negativity surrounds you, do not absorb it, override it. Speak light into the noise. That is obedience to the higher rhythm. When your mouth becomes sacred, your life becomes structured. Speech is the scaffolding of destiny. The wealth you desire, the peace you seek, the purpose you pursue, all must first exist in word form before they can exist in physical form. Before anything can appear in your life, it must first appear in your language. You cannot live beyond the vocabulary of your faith. Expand your words, and your world will expand with them. But understand, this sacred speech is not about pretending. It is not denial of reality, it is direction of energy. When you say, "I am abundant," while your bank account is low, you are not lying. You are realigning. You are commanding substance to take the shape of truth rather than the appearance of lack. You are reminding the universe of its original design. Infinite supply responding to divine command. This discipline requires consistency. You cannot speak power once and revert to fear 100 times. Repetition builds vibration. Vibration builds manifestation. Every morning, begin by blessing your mouth. My words are instruments of creation. My tongue speaks only truth, increase, and alignment. Throughout the day, monitor your language. Replace complaint with command. Substitute reaction with rhythm. At night, seal your day by declaring, "Everything I have spoken today multiplies in harmony and grace." The most powerful spiritual beings in history understood this secret. They did not argue with conditions, they spoke to them. They commanded storms, healed sickness, multiplied substance, all through word. They were not performing miracles, they were obeying law. Their mouths were not reporting what they saw, they were releasing what they knew. And because their words were aligned with divine rhythm, reality obeyed without hesitation. When you adopt this awareness, you stop begging life to change and start directing it. You stop telling stories of what went wrong and begin declaring what must go right. You become deliberate with every syllable, understanding that silence is better than contradiction. You stop narrating defeat and begin authoring destiny. You speak not as a victim of funkstance, but as the architect of creation. Remember this truth deeply: your mouth is a portal between the invisible and the visible. It transfers divine intention into material expression. It is the tool through which thought becomes thing, faith becomes form, and vibration becomes visible. Use it carelessly, and it will reproduce confusion. Use it consciously, and it will reproduce creation. So let every word be chosen, charged, and cherished. Speak not from fear, but from faith. Speak not from lack, but from law. Speak not what you see, speak what you decide to see. For the universe is always listening, always recording, always responding. And it has no option but to obey the one who understands. The mouth is not a mirror, it is a mold. And the moment you treat it as sacred, the world will reshape itself to the sound of your voice. The law of increase is the divine principle that governs expansion, multiplication, and perpetual growth. It is the rhythm of life that ensures that everything aligned with divine order must rise, flourish, and multiply. It is not a random occurrence, but a predictable law that rewards vibration, gratitude, and faithfulness. The law of increase states that whatever you praise and give thanks for must expand, while whatever you complain about and criticize must contract. Increase responds to attention, gratitude, and faith the way plants respond to sunlight. It is the pulse of creation that transforms small beginnings into abundant manifestations. Every aspect of existence bears witness to this law. A seed does not remain a seed when nurtured, it becomes a tree. A thought, when believed, becomes reality. Love, when expressed, multiplies. Money, when circulated with faith, increases. The law of increase is written into the very fabric of creation, declaring that there shall always be more for those who are aligned with more. This is why lack is not a condition of life, but a condition of consciousness. For the universe itself is infinitely abundant. It cannot withhold increase. It only mirrors the vibration of the one receiving it. To live by the law of increase, one must first understand that increase begins in awareness, not accumulation. Most people wait for evidence before they feel abundant. They look at their bank account, their environment, or their current situation, and determine their vibration based on what they see. But the law of increase does not operate from observation. It operates from expectation. It responds to the consciousness of expansion before expansion is visible. The moment you feel and act as if increase is already unfolding, the law must fulfill that vibration. Gratitude is the primary activator of the law of increase. Nothing grows without appreciation. When you give thanks for what you have, even the smallest amount multiplies. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to abundance, and energy expands wherever attention flows. To complain is to contract, to give thanks is to expand. When you say, "Thank you for this provision," you are sending a signal to the universe that you recognize the flow. And recognition strengthens rhythm. Divine substance moves toward acknowledgement. That is why the grateful person continuously experiences increase, while the ungrateful remain in cycles of stagnation. But gratitude must be genuine, not performative. The law reads vibration, not vocabulary. Simply saying, "Thank you," is not enough. You must feel it. You must train your inner atmosphere to radiate appreciation for everything. The seen and unseen, the large and small, the manifest and the invisible. When you learn to celebrate even the promise of increase, increase becomes inevitable. Gratitude opens the gate through which divine abundance flows without resistance. The law of increase also operates through faithfulness, the consistent stewardship of what already exists. Many people pray for more without mastering what they have. But divine law multiplies only what is valued. If you misuse or neglect your current portion, you communicate to the universe that you are not ready for expansion. But when you honor what you have, care for it, circulate it, grow it, and bless it, you signal readiness. Faithfulness is a vibration of trust. It says, "I am capable of handling increase." The universe rewards that trust by delivering more to manage. The rhythm of increase is never forced, it is cultivated. Just as you cannot pull a plant to make it grow faster, you cannot force expansion through impatience. Increase is natural when alignment is consistent. Your job is not to chase it, but to stay in rhythm with it. That rhythm is gratitude, generosity, and expectation, the triad of expansion. Gratitude attracts, generosity circulates, expectation multiplies. Together, they sustain perpetual increase. Generosity is an essential expression of the law of increase. When you give, you declare abundance. When you withhold, you declare fear. Giving is not loss, it is multiplication in disguise. Every act of giving sets energy in motion. And that energy must return. Often in forms greater than what was released. The law of increase demands movement. Nothing can expand while held tightly in fear. When you release freely, you activate the flow. To circulate is to declare trust in divine replenishment. The universe cannot pour into a closed hand, but it overflows into one that releases with faith. Increase also responds to speech. Your words are either fertilizer or poison to your field of manifestation. When you affirm, "Everything I touch prospers," you bless your environment. When you say, "Nothing ever works out," you curse your own soil. Words set the tone for expansion or contraction. The law of increase thrives in environments of affirmation, blessing, and positive declaration. Speak increase into your life daily, into your money, your health, your relationships, your ideas. Say, "I am growing, expanding, and rising in every way." These words are not empty, they are commands to substance. The law of increase is never limited by time, economy, or circumstance. Increase is not dependent on market trends or human permission. It is a universal principle that functions wherever faith, gratitude, and obedience converge. Even in the midst of chaos, increase finds those aligned with order. History reveals that many rise in times when others fall, not because they are lucky, but because they are aligned. They refuse to focus on decline. They remain tuned to divine expansion. The law cannot fail, only the alignment can waver. To sustain increase, You must also fight against the subtle vibration of comparison. Comparing your progress to others shifts your focus from gratitude to inadequacy. The moment you measure your abundance by another's standard, you fracture your vibration. The law of increase operates individually, not competitively. Each soul expands in its own rhythm, according to its own faith. Focus on your field, not another's harvest. Praise your growth, however small, and it will multiply in proportion to your recognition. Increase is also a law of consciousness, a reflection of your inner expansion. You cannot receive more externally than you believe internally. If your consciousness is limited, no amount of opportunity can sustain growth. To expand your life, you must first expand your self-image, your worthiness, and your capacity to receive. Abundance does not just fill your hands, it fills your awareness. The more you accept that increase is your natural state, the more evidence of it will appear. The law is not about accumulation, it is about expansion of being. The law of increase also thrives on celebration. Joy is magnetic. When you rejoice over small victories, you amplify their energy. Celebration is a form of gratitude in motion, a way of saying to the universe, I see what you are doing, and I am open for more. Many people overlook the small signs of progress and delay their manifestation because they refuse to celebrate until everything is perfect. But the wise celebrate the process, not just the product. To celebrate what is unfolding invites more to unfold. Increase requires patience, but not passivity. It asks that you move in rhythm with divine timing, acting when inspired, resting when guided, trusting when unseen. Impatience is a form of disbelief. It tells the universe that you do not trust its process. But faith waits with joy, knowing that every moment of alignment is building momentum in the unseen. You cannot rush divine multiplication. You can only prepare for it by maintaining the vibration that welcomes it. Understand also that the law of increase applies to all areas of existence, not only wealth. Peace, wisdom, love, creativity, and influence all expand under this law. The more you cultivate them, the more they multiply. When you share love, it grows. When you express wisdom, it deepens. When you create beauty, beauty finds you. Increase is not limited to material abundance. It is the signature of divine expansion in every form. To live in constant increase, make gratitude your language, generosity your habit, and faith your atmosphere. Wake each morning and say, everything within me and around me is expanding in divine order. Speak over your finances, your purpose, and your peace. I bless this, and it multiplies. Release fear of loss, for there is no loss in divine law, only circulation. Whatever leaves your life in gratitude returns multiplied through new channels. Increase is infinite, for the source of all increase is infinite. The universe never runs out of supply, only human belief creates the illusion of limitation. When you live in awareness of abundance, you tap into the endless flow of divine energy that sustains stars, births galaxies, and breathes life into every form. You are not separate from that flow. You are that flow individualized. Therefore, walk in increase as your natural state. See growth in every circumstance. Bless everything you touch. Celebrate each step, no matter how small. Speak expansion into your path, and refuse to allow complaint, comparison, or fear to break your rhythm. For in truth, the law of increase is not something that happens to you. It is something that happens through you. You are the vessel through which the universe experiences its own endless expansion. And the more you praise, the more you give, the more you trust, the more the law fulfills its sacred promise, that everything aligned with divine gratitude, faith and joy must, and will, increase without end. The law of rhythm is the heartbeat of the universe, the divine pulse that governs every cycle, every flow, every season of creation. It is the sacred balance between expansion and contraction, giving and receiving, silence and sound, night and dawn. Nothing in existence escapes this law. The ocean waves rise and fall, the moon waxes and wanes, the seasons shift, and the planets move in perfect cadence. Life itself breathes in rhythm. Inhale and exhale, birth and rebirth, abundance and rest. The wise do not resist this rhythm. They harmonize with it. The foolish fight it, and in their resistance, they exhaust themselves. The law of rhythm teaches that everything moves in cycles. What rises must eventually descend, and what descends must rise again. This is not punishment but balance. It is how the universe maintains harmony. When you are in rhythm with divine law, you understand that every downturn contains the seed of the next rise. Every pause hides the preparation for motion. And every quiet moment is gathering energy for the next manifestation. You stop fearing the ebb because you trust the inevitable flow. You stop clinging to the peak because you understand that rhythm requires release. Money, opportunity, inspiration, they all move in rhythm. They are not random forces that visit by chance. They respond to vibration, flow, and timing. Just as a river cannot be forced to flow faster by shouting at it, your prosperity cannot be forced through anxiety or impatience. You must align with the current, not fight against it. The law of rhythm invites you to dance with divine timing, to trust that everything you desire is moving toward you in perfect sequence. Not a moment too soon, not a moment too late. The challenge is that human consciousness often resists rhythm. We want constant growth without pause, abundance without rest, a movement without stillness. But divine law knows that uninterrupted expansion without rhythm becomes chaos. Just as your heart must beat in intervals, your manifestation must follow cycles. There are seasons to plant, seasons to harvest, and seasons to rest. When you ignore these natural phases, you disrupt your own flow. When you honor them, life becomes effortless. To live by the law of rhythm, you must learn to listen, to sense when spirit says move and when it says wait. You must trust the pauses as much as the progress. When circumstances slow, it does not mean you are forgotten. It means the soil beneath you is being replenished. The unseen is arranging itself to support your next phase of increase. Many people lose miracles not because the law failed, but because they abandoned rhythm during silence. The pause is not the end, it is divine calibration. In the rhythm of divine wealth, obedience is the key instrument. Obedience does not mean submission to fear, it means alignment with flow. It means saying yes when prompted and being still when guided. Those who are consistent in obedience become predictable to divine law. And divine law can only bless what is consistent. Obedience is rhythm expressed through action. It is the daily repetition of truth, the faithful practice of principle, the unwavering trust in divine timing. Rhythm is also emotional alignment. Your feelings are the metronome of your vibration. When you allow fear, impatience, or doubt to take over, your inner rhythm becomes erratic. But when you anchor yourself in peace, gratitude, and expectation, your vibration stabilizes, and the universe can harmonize with you. The more consistent your inner frequency, the smoother your external manifestations. Emotion is energy in motion, and rhythm ensures energy flows without resistance. The law of rhythm teaches us to bless every phase, the highs, the lows, and the in-betweens, for each carries its sacred purpose. The mountaintop gives you vision, the valley gives you depth. The silence gives you wisdom, the noise gives you courage. Nothing is wasted when you are aligned with rhythm. Even delay is divine choreography. Even detour is redirection toward greater precision. Wealth, too, has rhythm. It flows in and out like the tide. When you understand this, you stop panicking during the ebb and stop clinging during the flow. You learn to circulate money, time and energy with grace, trusting that what you release in rhythm will always return multiplied. You no longer hoard in fear, you circulate in faith. You no longer chase abundance. You allow it to move through you. You become the rhythm itself, a vessel of divine circulation, perfectly attuned to the music of creation. The law of rhythm also governs relationships, creativity, health, and purpose. Every aspect of life has its timing. When you rush love, it collapses. When you rush purpose, it burns out. When you rush healing, you miss wisdom. Patience is not delay. It is participation in divine rhythm. It is the recognition that everything unfolds exactly when it is mature enough to endure. Divine timing never denies, it perfects. When you fully embody rhythm, peace becomes your default state. You are no longer anxious about outcomes because you know every manifestation is inevitable in its season. You do not force because you trust flow. You do not fear because you understand that every cycle leads to expansion. You speak your word, you act in faith, and then you rest in rhythm. That rest is not inactivity, it is surrender to divine orchestration. Obedience, consistency, gratitude, and patience. These are the movements of rhythm. They form the melody of manifestation. When you live by this law, your life becomes a symphony, a harmonious expression of divine timing and abundance. You do not struggle against the beat, you dance with it. You understand that even when the music slows, the song continues. Every sunrise, every heartbeat, every breath is a reminder of this truth: life is rhythm. It is not linear, it is cyclical. It is not rigid, it flows. And those who master flow master wealth, peace, and power. You do not need to control the rhythm, only align with it. Trust that what is yours is already moving toward you on divine timing. The delay is not denial, it is design. When you wake, listen for rhythm. When you give, give in rhythm. When you rest, rest in rhythm. When you speak, speak in rhythm. Let every action carry the beat of divine alignment. The more you move with the law, the less resistance you face. Because the universe does not respond to struggle, it responds to synchronization. And now, as you stand in awareness of this final law, realize this: rhythm is not something outside of you. It is within you. It beats in your heart, flows in your breath, and pulses through your words. You are not separate from divine law. You are its living expression. The same rhythm that moves the tides moves through your veins. The same energy that galaxies listens to your command. So rise in rhythm. Speak in rhythm. Give in rhythm. Obey in rhythm. For once you live in divine cadence, lack loses its language, loses its grip, and effort gives way to effortless flow. You are no longer a seeker. You are a conductor of spiritual law. The universe bends to your beat because your beat is its own. And now, we close not in farewell, but in rhythm, the eternal motion of divine obedience. You have walked through every law, from the word to circulation, from assumption to identity, from agreement to increase, and now into rhythm, the seal of all alignment. These are not lessons to remember, they are laws to embody. The moment you obey them, the universe obeys you. So speak with authority, act with faith, flow with rhythm, and declare with conviction. Because I am in rhythm with divine law, nothing can withhold my increase. Because I move in obedience, money, peace, love, and opportunity must move toward me. Because I am one with rhythm, I live in perpetual flow. And so it is, not as a hope, but as a law fulfilled.